What's up? What's up? What's up, Vanguard gang? Welcome back to the live show. We got an awesome show for you guys today. Super excited to be back. Beautiful afternoon once again here in Kansas City. How you doing, Zach?
Oh yeah, this is about to be our speaker box. This is going to be our victory lap LP, bro. Today is the day where we talk about how we saw it all. We called it. We ate so much shit from the comment section, but we knew it all along. It's a good day to be a Vanguardian. But no, yeah, I got a lot of great shit to break down today. Not just Tulsi Gabbard telling us what we already knew. Shout out to you, Christina. Yes, we called this one on Tulsi months ago, if not over a year ago. I remember one of our first massive meltdowns from the audience was when we had our homie Mike on to talk shit on Tulsi Gabbard, and everybody was like, "You guys are shit libs. You guys are just Dems. You guys are MSNBC guy wannabe TYT ball lickers." And we were like, "LOL." We are waiting for the PragerU video. We didn't get that, but this is the next best thing. So shout out to you, Christina. And honestly, Gavin, you even doubled down on this harder than I did. I remember back maybe 15 months ago, you were saying, I want to draw the line in the sand and plant my fucking prediction that she runs in the Republican primary in 2024. It's not off the table right now.
Oh, it's happening, bro. She's definitely running as a Republican in 2024, and not because she has any chance of winning, but because she wants. It's really just an audition for VP. She wants to be Trump's VP, Ron DeSantis VP. That's the move here. That's the grift. And yeah, thank you so much, Christina. Really appreciate the $9.99. Thank you for the credit. We did call. Obviously, we weren't the only ones to call this. A lot of people on the left smelled a rat, so to speak. And actually, you said the thing about the PragerU video. Didn't she do a PragerU video like not that long ago? It wasn't specifically about leaving the left, but I think she has collaborated with Dave PragerU.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Zach's gonna pull that up.
It was on Big Tech's attack on freedom of speech, but let me just share that we don't have to watch it because it's swill, but I just want everybody to know where you can find it right here on the PragerU website. Big Tech's attack on freedom of speech. It's just like, okay, this is where they do that whole right-wing head fake where they take an actual issue that's causing this is what they do. They take a right-wing issue or a regular issue, excuse me, and then they give you like a bullshit right-wing solution. Like the right has absolutely no interest in reining in corporations, right? They just want to be able to say the N-word on social media and get away with like fucking, being rabidly anti-Semitic. So that's their priority right now. Whereas like if you were actually curious about or concerned with reining in big tech, the way to do that would be to, break up the monopoly, start imposing regulations, making sure that there's legitimate competition, start regulating it based off of what we understand currently to be the free speech laws that we have. I would argue also streamlining, the way to do lawsuits in that matter. Obviously, I don't believe in a world where like you could just like fucking, if you can prove it, you can get away with it. We've talked about that so many times, but yeah, looks like we do have a few more super chats plowing in. Thank you guys. But shout out to you, Christina. Always love seeing you in the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina. Really appreciate that. And before we get into our discussion, a few more of these super chats, let's quickly get the patron shout out of the way. Thank you so much for the support on Patreon, everyone. Really appreciate that. The link's in the description below. As always, if you want to hit that up and join our patron community, it's a great way to support the show. If you enjoy our content, if you agree with our perspective, and if you want to help us beat that algorithm and all of the censorship that we're seeing these days, then it's a really good way to support the show and make sure it keeps us afloat. So again, huge shout out to everyone supporting the show on Patreon. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. And if you'd like to join our community and have your own name up there on the shout out screen, then do consider hitting up the link in the description below. It really, really helps out more than you guys could know. But obviously, just hitting that like button is another really good way to support the show 100% for free. Same with subscribing if you're not already. But you guys know what's up. But yeah, huge shout out to the patrons.
Yeah, 100%. You guys keep the wheels on our van going round and round. Keep all that awesome on the ground kind of content, which we have more of coming for you guys. So super excited about that. But yeah, just to get to a few more super chats quickly. You guys are on fire today right off the bat. Haven't even got to our first news story. So shout out to you guys in chat, keeping us well funded over here. Gavin and I staying fed today. Great to be able to catch you guys live. Well, it's great for you to catch us live. Gabe, we always appreciate hearing your feedback in the chat. You're one of our routine listeners. So we appreciate you always engaging in, hanging out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gabe. Really appreciate that. Always love seeing you on our live chat. So I'm glad you're able to catch us live as well. Thank you also, AJ Gonzalez, for the $5. Don't worry, the PragerU video will be here shortly. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be more collaborations to come from Tulsi and PragerU. But before we get too far into all this Tulsi stuff, because there's some more super chats about Tulsi, let's take a look at the video she actually released before we get too into the weeds here, just in case anyone's tuning in this morning and hasn't seen the news, hasn't become aware of Tulsi Gabbard's statement. She put this out this morning. And again, thank you so much, AJ Gonzalez. Really appreciate that. So this morning, Tulsi Gabbard takes to Twitter to release this statement and this video. She says, I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, actively work to undermine our God-given freedom. All right, so let's hear it in her own words real quick, and then we'll break it down and react to some of these comments from you guys. But yeah, let's hear it from Tulsi herself.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and above all, who are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war. Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite. Now, I'm calling on my fellow common sense, independent-minded Democrats to join me in leaving the Democratic Party. If you can no longer stomach the direction that the so-called woke Democratic Party ideologues are taking our country, then I invite you to join me.
Yeah, so there's Tulsi's statement. Pretty funny stuff. Pretty funny stuff. One thing I find pretty interesting too is she says, I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers. You've been calling out the warmongers that control the Democratic Party for a long time, Tulsi. Like, back on back when the Bernie Sanders endorsement happened, back when you called out Kamala on the debate stage, like the fact that the Democratic Party is under the control of elitist warmongers is not a recent development. This isn't something that just happened like 6 months ago. Like all of a sudden this new person came in and turned the Democratic Party into an elitist cabal of warmongers. Like that's been the fucking status quo for basically your entire career, Tulsi. It's been the status quo for my entire life. So I know it's been the status quo for your entire career. So what happened? I can no longer remain. Now it's too much. It's too woke. They got too woke, so you had to leave, right? No, it's because you saw a lane for yourself in the Democratic Party. You thought you could grift the Democrats with your, brand of bullshit back during the Democratic primary. So you ran there, and when you miserably failed and got less than 3% or whatever, you turned around and decided, okay, well, this isn't going to work. Now I'm going to have to grift the right wing and switch lanes. That's what happened. The Democratic Party has always been an elitist cabal of warmongers. That's nothing fucking new. That's not a recent development. And to sit here and act like, oh, I just became enlightened. It's like, good fucking job, bitch. Like we've all fucking been on that page for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. The first presidential race that I think either of us were conscious for, unless you were conscious for, was unless you developed way faster than me, Gavin, was the Kerry Bush race, right? I don't remember Gore Bush at all. I was barely 2 years old or whatever the fuck when that happened. So, but I do remember Kerry Bush, right? And I remember distinctly, and also this is, things you've learned since then, right? But the dude was pro-Iraq war. Both of them. In 2004, the Democratic Party nominee, not only is John Kerry a ginormous aristocrat, I think he's got a $250 million net worth or something astronomical. I know he's affiliated with a big fortune of some kind. Anyways, really, really rich. So it's always been an elitist warmongering party. Where was the last war that the Democrats didn't fucking run over and fall over themselves to support? and justify. And then Obama comes in on hope and change and all that kind of shit. And all he does is change from putting troops on the ground to just massively increasing the drone warfare, right? That was the hope and change he brought. Always been this way, 100%. And then, aside from the fact that she comes out in the denim t-shirt, like we know she's simping for the Republican Party, case in point right there, denim t-shirt on. Let me just share this really quickly because it's absolutely insane. So I have the, interesting background of like my grandpa, bless his heart, as they say in the South. The man is like just a, I would say like a real far gone Republican right-wing guy, right? And when I was growing up, when I was like 13 or whatever, he would give me all of these books that he would say I needed to read to combat the liberalism that was being fed to me in school. And so he would give me like Michael Savage books and like Bill O'Reilly books and all this kind of shit. And of course, like Ann Coulter books, all kinds of like deranged shit, right? And I, would flip through some of them and read them like as gags with my friends sometimes, and they all sounded exactly like this. I love our country, our God-given rights of freedom, life, and liberty. This right here. And if you go through all of her problems with the Democratic Party, you can't find a single one it's all like massive Fox News framing on everything. Today's Democratic Party rejects the rule of law. The IRS is targeting conservative groups. Today's Democratic Party does not believe in free speech. Today's Democratic Party does not believe in constitutionally protected right to freedom of religion. Are you fucking kidding me? You're about to run to the Republican Party, which directly and intentionally targeted Islamic groups all across this country for fucking the entire wake of 9/11, while you then bitch to me about the security state. Are you out of your mind? Like, you're just talking out of one side of your mouth directly to the other. It's exactly what they do on Fox News. She's just parroting exactly what this like boomer right-wing audience wants to see from somebody who got so scared of the left in the Democratic Party, right? It's exactly what MSNBC does when they have all the never Trumpers, like the dude from Morning Joe, what's his last name? Joe Scarborough. He was a Republican for the longest goddamn time, but then he was like, I'm putting my foot in the ground. I'm drawing a line in the sand. I just won't get behind this mean man who says mean things. That's essentially the inverse of what's happening with somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. She's just the never Trumper from the Democrats.
100%. And also it's pretty funny and just such self-parody too. Because, if she just left it here and said, I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party because of the warmongering and the fact that they're bringing us closer to nuclear war. Well, I mean, that's it. There's at least like some truth in that, right? Like, the Democrats are warmongers and they currently are bringing us closer to the brink of nuclear war. Not that the Republicans are necessarily better, but at least that's like accurate, right? But to then go on and just completely destroy any credibility in your argument by using these right-wing buzzwords, cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism. This is literally just the inverse of the same kind of identity politics that Democrats constantly talk about. Like, this is identity politics too, but you're just talking about anti-white racism, acting like that's a real thing and an issue, which it's fucking not, unless you listen to Fox News 24/7 and have fucking Tucker Carlson brain. So again, any credibility that she might have had making a serious argument on serious grounds, in my opinion, is totally kind of just defaced by this idiocy and these right-wing buzzwords. These are not the real issues facing this country. Wokeness is just a buzzword that doesn't mean anything. Anti-white racism. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, give me an example of fucking anti-white racism. Why can't you even give a single goddamn example of what this means or an example of it taking place? It's just a made up thing. It's literally just fucking white old boomer Republicans clutching their pearls because people are a little bit more sensitive now towards like racial issues and social justice kind of topics, right? And yeah, obviously sometimes wokeness can go too far. I'm not sitting here saying that wokeness is never annoying, but to base your entire politics on that is so fucking childish. And it's just such a giveaway that you're a grifting piece of shit that doesn't actually care about real issues affecting real people. So that would be my response to that. And I also wanted to respond to this super chat from CEB Applejack 59. Thank you so much for the super chat. Do you have evidence of her going Republicans or going to the Republicans?
The denim shirt.
I don't defend her. I just want to know if it's fact. Well, it's not technically fact yet. She didn't say in the statement, now I'm joining the Republican Party. But let's be honest, guys. We all know that's what's going to happen. I will fucking eat my shoe on this podcast if that's not what happens. And that's the other thing is like, I would actually be giving her some level of credit if she made this statement and said, I'm leaving the Democratic Party and joining the Green Party, or like even the Libertarian Party, which I have such massive disagreements with. At least that's more in line with an understanding that it's both of the parties, that it's the duopoly, which is the problem. This statement just, it kind of implies that, well, the Democrats suck and, the Republicans are better. Like, I'm sorry, but that is what it implies, even though she's not explicitly saying that. She's been pandering to the right wing for freaking almost over a year easily now. She's been going on Fox News. She fucking filled in for Tucker Carlson, all this stuff. So she's clearly going to go to the Republican Party. Like I said, if not, I will happily come on this podcast and fucking eat my shoe in front of you guys, 100%. But that is what she's going to do. Yeah, again, if she was going to say, I'm exiting the Democratic Party, dim exit, let's start a new third party, let's take on the duopoly, both parties are corrupt, both parties are warmongers, that would at least be an accurate analysis, and obviously I'm a pro third party kind of guy. I vote for the Green Party in presidential elections when the Democrats nominate some corporatist like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. I'm more than happy to accept new members into the third party movement. But Tulsi Gabbard's never been on that page. She ran as a Democrat in 2020. And when that failed, she's now turning around and is going to run as a fucking Republican in order to try to secure the VP spot, or just to continue to enrich herself by grifting Fox News viewers.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the, this was almost accidentally based, right? Like, I can no longer remain in the Democratic Party as they wage nuclear war. Like, obviously, to anybody that listens to our show, that is correct. That is accurate analysis, but that's not what she's doing here. She's using that. And to be fair, there is a lot of fear amongst Republican voters, just older people in general, people who get their news from cable news about nuclear war. That's why she's framing it this way. There's a lot of fear there. And what does fear do? When you stoke on that, you create a more loyal audience, right? That's what they all learned during the Trump era. And that's what they've always kind of known. So, yeah, the way that she is pivoting by one, if Tulsi was going to go third party, right, she would have done it in 2020. Okay, which kind of you, Gavin, you mentioned. I always thought it was hilarious that Jimmy and his entire audience always antagonized Bernie Sanders and everybody that supported him in 2020 for being Chris Hedges said they stole it from him once. They were going to steal it from him again, you dunces. And then it was well, who were you supporting in 2020? Oh, another Democratic candidate, and one who was way shittier and turned out to just be a fucking right-wing grifter like you. Oh, funny how time tells like that, but that's fucking hilarious. So this is just, she's not going to do that. Why is she only making massive, the framing on every single one of these issues? It's not just a couple. She doesn't go out and say they are not giving us Medicare for all. Where was that in your list of criticisms, Tulsi Gabbard? That used to be one of, what they're not taking care of us from a healthcare standpoint. That's not in your list of reasons why you're leaving the Democratic Party. How about the fucking planet's going to catch on fire and we're all going to die from climate change, and the Democrats aren't doing anything about it? Nope, I don't think that's on your list. You're upset that they're not confronting the radical Islamist threat of terrorism. That's what you're fucking upset about. You're upset that now we've decided that that some people, 1% of the Democratic Party, is adamant that we're not going to have the most incarcerated country on earth. You're that's the final straw. If I can't see everybody getting fucking locked up and clubbed over the head and all these black people going to jail, I'm fucking out of this place, right? That. These are all of her grievances. Oh, if I can't just cheerlead some rabid anti-Semitism on Twitter, I have to wash my hands of this party. It's just insane. It's fucking it's unreal, right? So of course there's no direct evidence that she's going to go to the Republican Party. Only everything she's ever said over the last 12 months, right? So she's a smart enough lady. She knows how to do the dance to get over to the right wing. She knows she's still playing the role of the alarmed Democrat, the person who was the reasonable lefty, right? We've talked about how Dave Rubin does that kind of fucking shit. He was just the lefty the left got so woke for me. It's a real profitable dance to do, right? And that's why she's doing it. And she'll run in the the Republican primary, most likely by saying that her values have now, the Republican Party and the right-wing populism has just come to, she cares about people and also traditional American values. And, she's found that there's actually a home in the Republican Party for people who feel like her, all this yada, yada, yada. And she'll either get picked up to be a VP, chief of staff, or Secretary of State, something like that she wants, or she'll just fucking sell more books to right wingers, go on Fox News more, start a podcast, you know, where it's like her and Jocko Willink, and they have guys like Joe Rogan on it. They talk about waking up and conquering their inner bitch and destroying Africa. I don't know what the fuck else they, you know,
trans people.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Trans people. That's the other big issue that's fucking making, you know, oh God, we can't get this country back on track until we really iron out college swimming laws. That's what it is. That's what's holding this country up. I don't know. We got to really start with what's pressing right now. I don't know. Climate change, fucking thousands of people dying without health care, nuclear war. Actually, there are a few people swimming in college, and I've got a bone to pick with them. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? The people who are using a fucking Harvard pool, a University of Pennsylvania pool, wherever the fuck these people are swimming at, I don't give a shit. It's absolutely absurd. I don't fucking care. Yeah, Tulsi is Karen of the right wing variety. You know, totally alarmist. She's gonna start fear mongering about the homeless next. That's got to be her next evolution, if it hasn't already begun, and I just haven't seen it. I mean, this is the kind of shit that's just like poison to me. But we saw it coming from a mile away. And yeah, so this is what it is.
100%. And thank you so much, Tony, for the super chat as well. The red flag with Tulsi was how she opposed regime change war, but not the war on terror. Yeah, so true. And even some of her most ardent defenders, I remember, had to kind of turn on her and call her out at the time. People like Kim Iverson, who was literally like a surrogate for her presidential campaign, had to come out and be like, this is actually fucking retarded. Sorry, excuse my language, but you know what I'm saying? Because she came out here and was like, yeah, I'm against regime change, but the biggest threat facing the country is radical Islamist terror, which, by the way, was literally the justification for our attempted regime change in Middle Eastern countries. So basically her solution is that instead of doing regime change, we should just drone them to hell. She's pro-drone war, and she's also pro-torture. So yeah, real anti-war voice there. Thank you, Tony, for reminding us of that.
Oh yeah, do you remember when Tucker had her on and she was supposed to dogpile on Biden for bombing the you know, innocent civilians and whatever, and she was like, actually, this is good. This is what we want to do. We want more fucking bombing, so a targeted drone attack. So she's a crazy person. I remember not too long ago she like made this tweet about how she was with special forces on a mission and you know, somewhere in Africa, and Empire Files just quote tweeted it, and they were like, translation, I've been bombing places in Africa. It's just like, that's your team, fam. That's your anti-war candidate. That's what right wingers mean by anti-war. They just mean war you can't see anymore.
That's so true. That's 100% true. So thank you so much, Tony. Really good point. Also, thank you, Brian. It's a good thing anytime someone leaves the Democratic Party, but Gabbard's reasons for doing so are garbage. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And again, it's not like she's making a principled stand against the duopoly here. It's not like she's going to fucking start a third party or join the fucking Greens or something like that. And if she does, you know, I'll give her credit. I really will. We'll come out here and say, hey, we were wrong. You know, I guess Tulsi has more principles than we thought. But I don't think that's going to happen, guys. I really don't. I think it's 100% clear where this is going, and it's straight into the Republican Party.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good reason if somebody leaves the Democratic Party to become a leftist, but I think that Tulsi Gabbard may have, you know, left the Democratic Party to run into the other end of the swamp.
100%. That is exactly what's happening. But thank you so much, Brian. Really appreciate that. And yeah, you're right, Zach. It's exactly like the Joe Scarborough thing. You know, get a nice cushy gig on cable news and just start playing for the other team because it's more profitable for you. That's exactly what's happening. That's what is already happened. Thank you so much, Brian. Really appreciate it. Thank you once again, AJ Gonzalez, for the $5. Any thoughts on the Texas governor's race? Obviously, Beto has his flaws, but to me, Greg Abbott is much worse on pretty much every issue. I mean, yeah, it probably won't deny that or argue with that. Obviously, Greg Abbott's a monster. Unfortunately, I don't think Beto has much of a shot at winning it all. I really don't. I mean, if he couldn't even beat Ted Cruz, who's like probably the most unlikable candidate probably the most unlikable politician in the entire Republican Party. And that was back when Beto actually had more like hype behind him and people were actually really excited. He seemed more like a grassroots progressive. Now he's, you know, lost that race. He lost his presidential race miserably. It just kind of seems like he's a perennial loser and he's just destined to lose. So, I mean, I hope he wins, I guess, but like, I'm not even really invested in it because I don't think that's a possibility, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, so that I'm exactly where Gavin's at. Look, of course, like I don't really fuck with Beto, but it's like if I lived in Texas and I was showing up that day, I would vote for Beto over Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is a fucking monstrous piece of shit. I mean, of course, we have the abortion bans to talk about, but we also have the entire power grid failures that happened in Texas that, I mean, nobody that lives in Texas forgot about, but people who don't have to deal with that. Do you guys remember that when there were fucking kids that were freezing to death and all kinds of crazy shit, because and people's energy bills were going through the roof because they had this like weird system in Texas where they could price gouge the fuck out of you during the absolute worst natural disastrous circumstances. And so of course they did do that because they're soulless fucking capitalists. So anyway, yeah, no love in my heart for Greg Abbott or any of the Republicans that run Texas. But Beto's not a solution. And unfortunately, he's just got no chance of winning this race. Greg Abbott and the Republican Party machine, they have such an iron fist control over Texas right now. And I know we talk a lot about how Texas is moving blue. It's not moving blue in the direction of a guy like Beto O'Rourke, unfortunately. And as much as, it's like that meme, like, stop trying to make fetch happen, like, stop trying to make Beto happen, because the people of Texas don't want some fucking white guy named Robert who's convinced himself that he's fucking, a Hispanic guy named Beto, and he likes to speak Spanish to people. It's like, yeah, you know what? I took 5 years of French. You don't hear me fucking blabbering about and telling everybody I'm from Montreal and that it's pronounced Czech. Okay. Like, that's just not how I fucking roll. Okay. And also, I'm fucking terrible at French, so I couldn't really pull that off anyway. But anyway, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Also, he also does that thing all the time where he cusses in a speech or something and acts like it's so badass that he said like the word fuck. He's like I don't give a fuck about what you think about guns. I'm taking those fucking guns from everyone. And like he acts like it's the biggest, most dramatic, like a politician said the F word. Wow. He must be really passionate about this subject matter. Like he must really care. He's so raw. And it's just kind of annoying, to be honest. But again, I mean, definitely better than Abbott when it comes to policy, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, Beto, I don't think he has any chance at all. And I hope that we stop seeing him in American politics. Remember when he had a child and then he just went on a random road trip and he was writing Medium articles and he was like, "Oh, I'm off of I-70 in Kansas," and he decided that he wanted to be like a fucking Marlon Brando, like fucking drifter for a while, just absconded from his family. Like a couple years later, it's he's better. He's back. He's like, "I'm a family man again. Love my kids. Love my wife. I'm back to being a politician." It's just ridiculous. It's so fake. So yeah, he has no chance at all. And yeah, he originally blew up because of the fucking video about Colin Kaepernick. And I think that was really responsible for his meteoric rise when he was like, in a room full of these like white Southerners, and he was explaining to them why no, it was actually very American for fucking Colin Kaepernick to have the right to do this, which was like the single base moment in Beto's entire career.
Yeah, pretty much. But thank you so much, AJ and Gonzalez. Really appreciate your comment, question, and super chat. Also, thank you. Oops, let me get that back. Sorry, lost where I was. Thank you so much, Aiden ALW, for the $2. Consider how they treated her. Dems pushed Tulsi out. I don't really know how they pushed her out. If anything, the Democratic voters pushed her out because she ran for president in the Democratic primary and was completely and utterly rejected by the Democratic Party voters. That's why she got pushed out, is because they weren't buying her brand of bullshit. And she realized that, this is going to fly a lot better on the other side of the aisle. So time to become a Republican and grift the right instead of the left. But I mean, I don't know how they pushed her out. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, if you're talking about people being rude to you, I mean, like, I don't know, like Bernie Sanders never became a right winger after everybody called him a fucking Fidel sympathizing socialist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, people are going to be rude to you if you're in American politics. Like, that's kind of the way it is. And, if Tulsi had an ounce of conviction and actually believed in anything, she wouldn't let somebody like fucking Hillary Clinton saying rude things about her in the Washington Post, like, get to her. You know what I mean? That would be considered a badge of honor if you were, somebody with real principles. You'd be like, yeah, and fuck you right back, you old hag. Like, water off a duck's back.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the super chat, though. Appreciate your input. And thank you, Brian, once again for the forward. This is also really funny and true. Biden is literally funding the police at a higher level than Trump and deporting more immigrants than Trump. Gabbard's critique doesn't make sense. It's like, why aren't you pro Biden then if these are the issues you care about? And it's also funny because she literally endorsed Biden when she thought it would be politically convenient or politically expedient or whatever for her at the time. So again, this is like a less than 2 year transition from I'm going to endorse Biden in the long shot hope that he makes me VP or adds me to the cabinet in some capacity. That doesn't happen. Never mind. I'm leaving the Democratic Party. I'm going to make a big dramatic exit. So 100% correct. And also I think it's funny that she was like, the Democrats demonize people of faith or whatever. Where'd she say that? She was like, yeah, they're hostile to people of faith and spirituality. Joe Biden is literally a fucking Catholic. the leader of the Democratic Party is a goddamn Catholic. Compare that to the leader of the Republican Party, Trump, who's a fake Christian, who has had like fucking 4 wives and a bunch of kids and has done a bunch of super unchristian shit his entire life. Like, it's just dumb.
Yeah, 100%. Biden, that's the game. That's why you know she's playing the game, right? She went on Sean Hannity show. We reacted to it and debunked it, and we gave her like 10 million of the responses. And she just let Sean Hannity go through and through. Biden should be doing this, right? And she would be like, well, blah, blah. And he'd be like, right. And she'd be like, well, yes, I guess you're right on every single fucking issue, Sean. Zoinks. Like, yeah. So, yeah, she's not trying to make sense. She's trying to feed red meat to a right-wing audience that wants to look at Joe Biden as a radical socialist who's letting fucking open borders happen and letting chaos and crime overrun the entire country.
Yep. Thanks so much, Brian. Thank you also, Alex, for the $4.99. Really appreciate you, Alex. Tulsi was my first choice in 2016 due to her supporting Assange and Snowden, but now she's just a right-wing tool. Yeah, 100%. And don't get me wrong, there was a point, back in 2016, where I also thought Tulsi Gabbard was pretty based for these reasons and others. I fell for her shtick like a lot of people too in the beginning, but luckily Zach and I realized a lot sooner than a lot of other people what she was doing and just exactly the grifter that she is. But yeah, 100%. That's definitely a valid point, Alex.
Yeah, look, I never supported Tulsi over Bernie Sanders, but we gave her massive credit and thought it was based when she like kind of stuck her neck out for him during the primaries or whatever. But yeah, obviously she's changed a lot since then. And honestly, looking back on it, I think she was just trying to, pivot and carve out a lane for herself then too. She realized that wasn't going to work. And so now she recalibrated and is going in the polar opposite direction.
Yep. Really appreciate it, Alex. Thank you also, Dasbos Fleisch, for the 249. Didn't you predict that Tulsi speech? If you're referring to this one, then pretty much, yeah, we've been saying for a long time that this was coming. And again, mark my words, guys, she's not gonna become an independent or a fucking Green Party candidate or anything like that. She's gonna join the Republican Party. She's gonna run in the Republican primary in a desperate and pathetic attempt to beat Trump or DeSantis VP. Mark my words.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the primaries for the Republicans and the Democrats. I think it's just going to be such a shit show. So, always love that.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear about anti-white racism on the debate stage. It's going to be a great time reacting to that, guys. Unironically, I'm actually excited to react to that. It's going to be fucking hilarious. But thank you, Jonathan Boyle, for the $5. Tulsi calling anyone else a warmonger is farcical after she went on Tucker to advocate for more drone strikes. Yep. We were referencing that earlier, and you're 100% correct. She was literally defending our policy of drone strikes. So yeah, you can't fucking call how do you think war is done in the year 2022? Like, how the fuck can you call yourself anti-war but be pro-drone? It just doesn't make sense at all.
Oh, fuck me. Okay, yeah, 100%. It was completely bullshit. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier. But yeah, she's never been anti-war. She's just been anti-troops on the ground. And I think that just comes from her experience being in the U.S. military. She was like, oh, why would we not just kill all of these brown people without putting like American lives in jeopardy? And that's like, supposedly the like evolved like woke military kind of way of thinking about it. But it's not at all, anti-war. It's not at all pacifistic. It's not at all like, the kind of anti-war principally that we represent here at the Vanguard. It's just, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
100%. So thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Mike H2. Grifter's gonna grift. She's Dave Rubin / Tim Pool 2.0. 100%. No doubt about it. And now we have the video to prove it.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember too much of Tim Pool before he was a right winger, but I do remember seeing some clips of Dave Rubin on TYT, and I think Tulsi might even just take the cake for the most like impressively short period of time to pivot. So
that would be Haxon.
Oh, Haxon G. Well, yeah, but he doesn't have that fucking level of like national media attention that Tim Pool, Rubin, and Gabbard have.
True, but he still takes the cake for the quickest ever left to right grift. Like what, 6 months? Come on, bro. But yeah, no, you're 100% correct, Mike. Grifter's gonna grift. And thank you also, Red Robin, for the 179. Tulsi Gabbard showing those true colors. Yep. I mean, at least she's being honest. Like, just fucking be honest, bro. So just admit that you're a Republican. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why she took so long to do it is because her whole in on Fox News, like the way she got into Fox News, was that they were able to put, Democratic congressperson at the bottom of the screen, or former Democratic congressperson, so they could bring her on as their fucking token lefty, quote unquote lefty. Oh, here's a Democrat that's going to shit on the Democrats. Here's a lefty that's going to shit on the left. That was her whole appeal. There's so much money to be made in that lane. In case it's not obvious, that's what she was fucking doing. But yeah, now she's finally coming around and be like, yep, I'm actually just a Republican and have been all along.
Yep. If Gavin and I act like, if people always call us like the grift guard or whatever, if Gavin and I wanted to be the grift guard, do you know that we're funny. We could make a fucking fortune jerking off boomers on the right, smoking weed, being the stoner, rational fucking right wingers. We're infinitely more clever than all of the most successful people on the right wing. It's low hanging fruit here, but we actually have principles, and people like Tulsi just don't. It's really easy. You can be dumb as fucking rocks and get a right wing audience of people who just want to hear you say shit like the liberals are crazy. They're all snowflakes, and get triggered, and then you say something like really racist or fucking anti-Semitic, and then they all cheer and wet themselves.
Yeah, but God forbid you call Israel an apartheid state, right? Anyway, but yeah, thank you so much, Red Robin. Really appreciate that. Thank you once again, Gabe Newell. Sorry, I'm trying not to bump my mic. Speaking about trans issues, she's never forget the last bill she ever introduced to Congress was an anti-trans and sports law. Yep, that's her bread and butter, man.
Yeah, what are you talking about? The number one issue and threat facing America is trans kids playing field hockey. Number one. Never forget those rad field hockeyers.
Yep. Thank you, Gabe. Really appreciate that. Thank you also, Comrade, for the $5. I have no problem with anyone leaving the corrupt criminal Democratic Party. But it's obvious Tulsi will now go all in on the right wing grift. Yeah, 100%, bro. That's what I'm saying too. Obviously, there's no problem with Dim exiting. I don't consider myself a fucking Democrat. And if she wanted to take a stand and say I'm an actual independent, or even if she said I'm a libertarian, like I said, I don't agree with the libertarians on much, but at least that would be a principled anti-duopoly stand. That's not what's going to happen.
Oh God, absolutely not. Like we said, if she was going to do that, guys, there's no anybody. I don't think anybody is still like a good faith believer that Tulsi has any left wing values. But I just want you to take a look. I pulled up the entire Substack because it's longer and more in depth than that short video that was going around Twitter. And not a single one of those is anything that could be remotely described as like a populist concern. It's all culture war on there, and it's all just hysteria. Like, she wants to complain about the police when the police are at their highest budgets ever. When we have more cops and more people in prison than ever. Okay. Absolutely absurd things to do. And then there's no reference to things like housing, massive issue for regular working people right now. Healthcare, massive issue for regular working people right now. All these kinds of things. No, it's not on there. There's nothing about raising the minimum wage to $25 an hour. This woman is not a populist. She's a fucking diet Sean Hannity, wannabe Tucker Carlson kind of a person. And that's exactly what she's going to become. She is she's trying to shoot the gap and fill the space that like an Ann Coulter must have fucking taken and occupied in the past. Or what's the other fucking lady that's on Fox News?
Laura Ingraham.
Laura Ingraham. I almost said
Laura Kelly. Yeah, the problem for Tulsi, though, is she's honestly not that compelling of a speaker. Like, as much as I fucking hate Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham, they are far, far superior communicators than Tulsi. Tulsi's boring. My eyes glaze over when I'm listening to her give a segment on fucking Fox News or whatever. She really does suck at like the whole commentary thing, in my opinion. It just sounds like she's reading a script. She doesn't really have much of like a personality. She's not able to get like very animated, and she sucks. So yeah, have fun being a fucking right-wing talking point machine. I was gonna say something else. Fuck, I forget. Anyway, thank you so much, Comrade. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Aiden ALW, once again for the $2. Hillary and media said Tulsi was a favorite of the Russians. Well, as Zach said, they said that about Bernie Sanders too. Remember that Washington Post article that dropped like a fucking day before what was it? I think before
the debates.
Yeah, I think it was either before the debates or before Utah voted or something like that. Either way, this thing came out, this Washington Post article that was like leaked communications from the Kremlin said that Bernie Sanders is actually like the favorite of the Russians and all this shit. That doesn't mean he turned around and became a fucking Republican. Like, yeah, obviously the liberal media is garbage. That doesn't mean the correct response to that is to become a fucking Republican.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I think you're right, actually. it was before, I think it was before Nevada or something like that. I'm looking at it right now, and he was like, Washington Post, yeah, good friends, you know. So I found the tweet. That's what it was. It was right before Nevada. But anyway, yeah, and I mentioned that when we were responding to, you know, you saying that she was pushed out. Yeah, they wrote some crappy shit in the Washington Post, and obviously, you know, the favored by Russians, and you know, oh, she's an Assadist toady, and all the kind of shit that was going around by what was it? I think Barry Weiss wrote an article where they called her an Assadist toady, and Joe Rogan was like, how is she an Assadist toady? And she just kind of melted down. That was like a thing. So obviously that happened, but that happens to everybody who's like unorthodox, right? And none of these people would be making excuses for Bernie Sanders if he'd run into the warm embrace of the Republican Party. Sure as shit, not me. I think there might be an army of people prepared to burn his house down if that happened.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, the media treats they treated Bernie just as unfairly. They called him a Russian asset, but he's not a grifting piece of shit, and he actually cares about like the people. He actually cares about the issues he talks about. Not that I agree with him on everything, but he's not just literally a grifting piece of garbage. So anyway, thank you so much for the $2. Thank you also, Adi. Love seeing you in the chat, Adi. Really appreciate the $10 just tuning in. Tulsi used to be so good in 2016. Not really sure what happened to her and what exactly led to her changing this much. Really sad and disappointing. Yeah, like I said, you know, she was really good in 2016. I thought it was super based when she came out, one of the only elected Democrats in Congress to endorse Bernie Sanders, came out super hard against Hillary, made a lot of great points. I mean, even up until the 2020 primary, when she was on the debate stage, tearing apart Kamala Harris. Now she's talking about how we need to lock more people up. But back then she was saying that Kamala locked too many people up. So it's like, which is it? What the fuck is your like deal, bro? It's just such an obvious and transparent grift. And she never really even explained either. Like, you know, it just kind of happened. You know, you just all of a sudden start seeing her on Fox News affirming their right-wing talking points. You're like, oh, okay. I guess this is where we're going now.
Yeah. And a lot of people will point back, like, I got to take my hat out to my sister, because I remember when I was trying to convince my sister that Tulsi Gabbard was based, and she was like, well, in fucking 2004, she said all this disgusting shit about gay people. And I was like, you know what? In hindsight, you realize that, or to me, you know, and I don't know, Adi, what happened. I also thought, I used to go to bat for Tulsi, you know, that was what led to those arguments between me and my sister. But I think she just really was like, you know, how do I, you know, I said the same thing about Jackson before he's left to the left. You know what I'm saying? It's just like some people, you can tell that what they want is an audience. What they want is a following, and they want to be big, and they want to be celebrated, and they want to be known for having an audience. Everything else is kind of secondary to them. It's not about what they're saying. It's not about what they're selling. It's not about making the world a better place. It's about them, you know, and once you understand that about somebody, they kind of make everything else kind of makes sense, right? You look at the transitions from Tulsi Gabbard now. She went from being a relatively unknown congressperson. Now she's regularly on Fox News. Now she has an army of sycophantic people. You know, she can sell books. She can do all these different kinds of things. And in the microcosm, as we've talked about with Haxton Jinkle the other day, I mean, his career took off like a motherfucker as soon as he started sucking Putin's dick for a living. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is, right? You know, I mean, I'm sure if I filmed myself fucking a pig, I could get more views than I do talking about politics, but that's not what I want to do, because I don't want to fuck pigs for a living, unlike Jackson. So that's what it is.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And also, by the way, I was waiting for anyone to comment. We were talking about this earlier. Is Gavin wearing a Destroya shirt? I am. The one Godzilla fan in the chat noticed. Hell yeah, Wayne. We're on the same wavelength, bro. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Godzilla. Specifically, Godzilla versus Destroya is my favorite Godzilla movie. So yes, indeed, I am. Thank you for noticing. Anyway, let's get back to these super chats. Again, thanks so much, Adi. Really appreciate those $10. Thank you also, Charles. Really appreciate that. Tulsi is pushing Tucker to run for president, and this has been going on for 6 months. Tuck and Toll, built for boomers and a danger to everyone. Yeah, I know. Is that actually true? Like, is there proof of this, that she wants Tucker to run for president? I wouldn't be surprised. I know there's been rumors about Tucker running for president. But the thing about Tucker, guys, in my opinion, at least, he's really not as compelling when he's like off script. Like when he's just reading the teleprompter, obviously he's good at communicating his shitty ideas, unfortunately. But like if you actually watch him in a debate, for example, I remember he debated Cenk Uygur of all people at Politicon like 6 years ago. He was terrible. Like when he's just off the cuff and he's not reading a fucking teleprompter, terrible. He's really not that good at just like debating. Like he doesn't have that kind of Trumpian energy where he's just like always on top. So I don't actually think he'd be as good of a candidate as some people make him out to be, or like that he potentially could be. Again, he's a really good talking head. He's good at reading talking points, and repeating words that other people wrote for him to say. But I don't actually think he'd do too well in the arena of like a presidential debate, for example.
Yeah, it's because it's a completely different skill, right? And Gavin, I think you and I are both like, we like to do both, right? Like we like to present kind of, but I would say I'm weaker at that than I am debating or just having like a regular conversation. Whereas a guy like Tucker is going to be better at, doing the old school, like reading from a teleprompter. Hi, I'm Tucker Carlson, and this is Tucker Carlson. And I don't fucking watch Tucker. He doesn't sound nearly that fucking smart or intelligent, but whatever, right? He's got it down. He's polished. He's engaging. He knows how to talk like this in order to get people to keep listening and do all these weird Tucker Carlson. Anyway, that's what he's fucking good at, right? But he's always reading his lines. And that's why if he has to go freewheel off the cuff with somebody, they don't put it out, right? Do you remember there was a famous clip that was going around where this guy just, instead of taking any of Tucker's framing, he just bulldozes him and starts telling him a bunch of shit about how he lied about how he set up the entire question and how he was going to respond to the actual substance of the matter, which was to give something that was like, completely outside the framework. Yeah, guess what? Never aired on Tucker Carlson tonight, that fucking exchange with that guy, because he has to have it all fucking curated bit by bit by bit. They're speeding you along so you're uncomfortable. He has all the beats mapped out for him. It's almost like professional wrestling at that point where, like, sure, there is some real talent involved, but you're not actually going to the mats, unchoreographed.
Yeah. Also, did you check out his interview with Kanye like a day before the anti-Semitic tweet? That shit was so funny. Shit was so fucking funny. He's just sitting there. Kanye's like rambling like a literal insane person. And Tucker's sitting like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, that's brilliant. Kanye's just saying the dumbest shit you've ever heard.
Bro, that was wild too. I read the transcript. One, like, why can't anybody just leave Lizzo alone? Like, come on. Like, but two, like, he's just out here being like, he'll like just it without any through lines at all. He's like talking about how fast food and bad health is how they're trying to like exterminate the black race. He was like, they want to kill us all. And then Tucker Carlson, like, obviously a man that's concerned with the health and wellness of the black community is just like, yeah, why are the Democrats doing that to you? It's just like, it's fucking insane. Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch the clip where he was going off about Lizzo and how like people don't want Lizzo to be thin and all this kind of shit.
Yeah, gotta watch this real quick. It's like 10 seconds long. This is pretty funny.
So the answer to why I wrote White Lives Matter on a shirt is because they do. It's the obvious thing. Yeah. So
yeah, like what a brilliant thought, Kanye. A real genius. So funny. He acts like people like, well, for one, these motherfuckers on the right, they act like the left is obsessed with celebrities. The left, they're just a bunch of star fuckers. They just want to trot out all these Hollywood celebrities, Jay-Z and fucking all these celebrities, you know what I'm saying? Beyonce. And then as soon as someone like Kanye West wants to affirm their dog shit fucking talking points, they treat them like a goddamn enlightened fucking Plato or something. It's so funny.
It's because they're used to having to parade guys like Chachi, who haven't been famous in 50 fucking years. They'll be like, Tim Allen, that guy's gonna tell you about fucking politics. It's like, okay, nobody knows who the fuck that is or cares.
Exactly. Now they just have to deal with fucking Kanye West, who's literally insane and also an anti-Semite. Good job, Republicans. You got one celebrity. Thank you once again for the $5. Consider the state of U.S. politics that Tulsi was the most vocal on war issues. She took heat for calling out the U.S. war on Syria. And no one else running bothered. Like I said, she was making some decent points at the time back in the day, but I see her making less and less of those good points and more often just repeating right-wing culture war garbage. And that's the other funny thing. It's like people on the right love to pretend that it's the left that's obsessed with identity politics and culture war issues and all that shit. But they're the ones that constantly traffic in those talking points. They are the culture warriors. Read, like Zach said, read Tulsi Gabbard's like full statement on Substack. It's just a fucking massive manifesto of culture war garbage. Like, it has nothing to do with politics. It's just a bunch of bullshit identity politics talking points. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Tulsi, I don't know. There's not much else I can say besides just repeating what Gavin said. It is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you so much for the super chat.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Really appreciate that. Thank you also, Pedro the Lion, for the $5. I think Jackson's MAGA communism got him kicked off of Door. I think you might be right about that, Pedro. I actually think you might be right about that because I haven't been watching the Jimmy Dore show religiously or anything, but I haven't noticed him on there since the interview that we reacted to, where they talked about MAGA communism, and Jimmy Dore was like cringing the entire time. So I think he was like, bro, you're just giving away the game too much. Like you went too right, too fast. You're giving away the grift, bro. We got to keep it more subtle than that. So therefore, he got kicked off.
Oh yeah, dude. I think that's hilarious. And if we have like 1 inch of reach left with Jimmy, like he still follows us on Twitter, but I would bet 90% that he has us muted. If there is anything left in the algorithm that sent him one of our videos, I pray to God it was that one. And I pray to God that he was having the kind of day where he had to force himself to click it, because what the fuck, Jimmy? I used to watch your show. That was embarrassingly fucking pathetic. And I hope you kicked that guy off of it, because if you got to scrape that bottom of the barrel, I don't know. If the boomer audience will accept anything, I guess.
Even remember at the end of that episode, he was like, "You're gonna get me in trouble, Jackson, like for your stupid bullshit or whatever." Like even Jimmy was like, "Oh, dude, this is so cringe. This is so fucking cringe, bro." But yeah, thank you so much, Pedro. 100% correct. Thank you for the $5, and we'll see. I mean, maybe there's definitely a good chance that Jackson gets back on the Jimmy Dore show. I'm not saying that he's officially kicked off, but I think that definitely gave Jimmy some pause about having him on as often as he was. Just because again, it's so obvious what he's doing now. He's just becoming a Trump dude. Like he's just a pro-Trump commentator at this point. He's not fucking third party. He's not People's Party. He's Trump. He's MAGA. That's all it is. Thank you so much, Alex. You guys could easily get the right-wing grift. Gavin has long hair and both of you are bearded. Both of us? Am I bearded? Unless you what? But anyway, look at the cool former communist talking to you about capitalism. Yeah, no, as Zach was saying, that would be the easiest possible thing and the most profitable decision that we could ever make. 100%. We could absolutely just start making right-wing content. We would get like literally 10 times as much income. So I'm not saying that we're so principled because we're not doing that. Like obviously not. We're just I need to sleep at night, like I need to sleep at night and I actually care about these issues. So no, I'm not going to do a swivel and all of a sudden become a right-wing talking point machine to increase the size of my wallet. Like, no, I actually care about other things more than money. So
yeah, if we were going to do this, though, I would just go back to what Gavin referred to as my Duck Dynasty look, which was when if you guys go back to our earlier videos, I had like fucking almost shoulder length hair and like just a ginormous fucking unhinged beard, because I don't know, COVID was something different. But yeah, that's what we would do. And I would start wearing like a bandana, and I would wear a shirt that says like "Don't tread on me," or I would wear like Leonard Skinner or something like that, really virtue signal to these people. But that again, Gavin and I, we'd rather just do our own show our own way. I just think it's hilarious that people are like, you guys are the grift card. I'm like, no, we know how to grift. We're not fucking idiots. And I sure as shit wouldn't be grifting to the dead corners of the fucking progressive left movement if I was interested in the money. Okay.
Exactly. Also, just saw this. We never believed in Russiagate. We were never Russiagators, just so everyone knows. But thank you also, Mike, for the $5. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm voting dim down ticket in 2022. Third parties won't be viable without reforms from within. Saying otherwise is emotional. I mean, that's a personal choice you have every right to make, Mike. I'm not voter shaming anyone, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Offices. Positions that are worth voting Democrat, like for example, city council or mayor or stuff like that. Like I don't give a shit what you vote for. Usually I just refuse to vote for like super corporate establishment Democrats like Joe Biden, for example, or Hillary Clinton, people like that. But if there's like a solid, Democrat who's like running for local office where you live or whatever, like go ahead. Like I'm not going to fucking shame you for voting for them.
Yeah, but on the flip side, Mike, Gavin and I were actually just at a really inspiring rally in Kansas City that the KC Tenants put on, and they were talking about their new initiative, a new organization that's like a partner organization to KC Tenants called KC Tenant Power, right? Because they'd kind of experienced, I mean, obviously, right? They did all the in Kansas City. For people who don't know, they did all this work to get a fucking mayor elected. That guy turned out to be like a fucking piece of shit, like very similar to the situation that nationally the squad went down with, right? Just flipped on everything as soon as he, got into power. And so now they want to be able to run their own candidates who come from the actual grassroots, who come from the mutual aid organizing of KC tenants and represent people from KC tenant power. Those people will be a third party, and they will be on they will run for city council seats, and those seats will matter in Kansas City. So I think that it's a little bit of an overstatement to say that third parties aren't viable when you're talking down ticket. That's actually where they're the most viable, Mike. So if you do have an opportunity where there are some third party candidates running at a city council level, and they're organized and they have their shit together, like we are fortunate enough to see, Gavin and I are constantly amazed by the work that the KC Tenants is able to do, and the strides that they're able to make. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to get some people on the city council here in Kansas City. And so in the same way that the DSA was able to get people on the city council all across this country, or to get people into the state legislature. So let's not say that it's emotional, because it's not. It's been it's been done many, many, many times, especially in those down ballot races. But again, it's your fucking vote. It's up to you. I would just say that I don't think it's emotional. I think that there are plenty of examples where, the conditions are right, where you can be successful down ballot as a third party. It's typically in the more competitive, more highly financed national and executive races where it's almost impossible to win as a third party.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on if Mike H has any of those candidates running. Like, he might not have,
Right.
KC tenants. So I can see what you're saying if that's the case for you, Mike, but it just depends on where you live. I don't know about the specifics of your district and all that stuff. So anyway, thanks so much for the $5, Mike. And yeah, obviously there are going to be a few third-party candidates on the ballot that actually do have no chance of winning. They're just like random people that somehow got on the ballot. They're like, well, I'm, Joe Johnson from the Freedom Eagle Party, and I somehow got on the ballot, and I'm going to get like a fraction of a percent. Like, yeah, I get it. It would be kind of dumb to vote for that person.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, if it's the DSA and you're running Zohran Mamdani, or you're running Jabari Brisport, or something like that, then I don't think it's emotional to vote for them, was all I was saying.
I don't think that those people ran as third parties, though. I think they ran as Democrats, right?
Did they run as DSA Democrats? That's interesting. I'm not sure, actually.
Well, a lot of times the DSA endorses Democrats. That's why everyone gets all fucking their panties in a twist about the DSA, because they're sheep herding people into the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess the DSA then, if you don't count them as third party candidates, then I guess that would be a less compelling example. You'd have to go for like the Green Party or something else, which I get is less successful documentedly.
It just depends, because some Green Party candidates are like genuinely viable. They have a chance. And in some districts, there's going to be third party candidates that truly just don't have a chance, and they're just kind of like, so it just depends on where you live, like I said, Mike. Anyway, thank you so much, Comrade, for the $2. Nice to see a comrade who is a fan of the Big G. I'm happy that there's a few comrades in our chat that are Godzilla fans. That's base. There's not a lot of Godzilla fans. I don't really know anyone in my actual personal life that shares my passion for the Godzilla film franchise, so that's pretty dope. We need to have a leftist Godzilla fan get together. There's not many of us out there. But yeah, nice to see that we have some G fans in the chat.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like the newer ones. I haven't seen all of the like traditional ones like Gavin. Gavin has like action figures and like all of the fucking shit for it. He's a real kaiju cinema fan.
Yup, always have been since my childhood. But thank you so much, comrade. Really appreciate that. And thank you so much. What do you think about Jimmy attending Defeat Green Fascism Conference in NYC? I actually didn't know that he did that. That's hilarious. I heard Jackson was going to that. The thing sponsored by like the LaRouchians or whatever they're called. Yeah, they're calling the left green fascists now. That's funny as fuck, bro. I didn't know Jimmy actually went to that. I can't say I'm terribly surprised, but ooh, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I think it was put on by the Schiller Institute, aptly named. Green means no humanity. Stop the Great Reset. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, this is hilarious. The Great Leap Backwards. LaRouche exposes the Green New Deal. Oh, what the fuck, guys? Resolution for a worldwide resistance to global fascism. Stop the central bank takeover. Hey, how long until Kanye goes on the Jimmy Dore show? Jesus fucking Christ. Like, help us end the green death.
And that shit's 100%. Like,
okay, hold on, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the whole that whole shit, the green fascism thing, it's 100% a psyop funded by big oil. You know what I'm saying? Like the oligarchs, like they're 100% behind that shit.
Yeah, this is like straight out of the fucking like 2005 like climate change isn't real kind of shit. Let's look at the shit right here. Of course climate change is real. The Earth's climate is constantly changing. What's the biggest driver in the change? Contrary to the lies of zero growth Luddites, it's not human industrial activity. It literally fucking is, you dumb fucker. The entire overwhelming this is who you're cheerleading if you're still a Jimmy Dore simp. You've lost your fucking mind. I'm reading this and I'm like, I don't even have anything nice to say about you. Like, this is insane. Are we running out of resources? Is the planet overpopulated? Is CO2 leading to out of control warming? Use the resources below to educate yourself and others about the fraud of today's green science and policy, and build your knowledge of real climate science, the science of the Earth's interactions with the sun and the galaxy. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah. Again, do we have actual proof that Jimmy was going to this? I saw someone on Twitter say that Jimmy said he was gonna go, but I didn't see any pictures of him there. Anyway, I guess the defeat green fascism. That's so funny. Anyway, we can do a whole segment on that at some point. That'll be pretty good.
Yeah, dude, it's just insane because I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in Kansas most of the time, right in where you grew up, right? And I remember the first time I had a conversation about climate change with a fucking crazy Republican, and I was probably 12. I didn't know a lot. I knew that the fucking CO2 levels were rising. Like, I'd been to school, I knew the fucking basics. It's like 6th grade, Mr. Baker's class era. Okay. And this woman's like, no, it's just the natural cycle of everything. This is like the ice age, and then the ice age melted. They're just a bunch of liberal fear mongering about that. She's like, it's because they don't want America to grow. We're the best country in the world, and they don't want us to grow and industrialize. And I'm like, that is essentially what we just read from this fucking Stop Green it is the most blatant anti-science, the sun and the galaxy. Are you out of your mind, people? Are you out of your mind? This is ridiculous. So this is where the grift goes, guys. This is how you have to get crazier and crazier and crazier on your way to Alex Jones InfoWars territory over here. I straight up this is a stone's throw from that kind of shit. So if Jimmy's here already, goodbye. What are you talking? Now you're anti-Green New Deal because you're calling it green fascism. Crazy.
Yeah, and apparently Jimmy said he's going. He said that last night. And yeah, obviously, like I said, there's no way to convince me that the green fascism thing is not a cooked up term by the big oil industry, the fossil fuel companies. 100%. All of a sudden, you see all these fake grifters using the term green fascism. Where do you think they got that fucking talking point? I'm just saying. Anyway, thank you, Charles. Charles Foster Kane. I'm going to assume that's your name. But yeah, really appreciate that. And thank you also, Mike, for the $2. Thanks for making Raider fans miserable last night. Yeah, that was a great game. Zach and I were watching that, came right down to the last couple seconds, and we won by a single point. But yeah, that was a great game.
Oh my God, there was so much that happened in that game. One, we played like shit for the entire first half, so let's not let that go. 17-0. Oof. There was that ridiculously horrid roughing the passer call on Chris Jones. That there was a lot of bad officiating this weekend. But yeah, we came back, we starched them, won by 1 point. They let the clock run out. It was amazing.
Yeah, and also shout out to you, Zaina, for chiming in. I read LaRouche and Dugan last week, and it's not good. I was kind of shocked how many lefties follow these teachings. Creepy. Yeah, like I said, I think there might be something more to it than them just randomly deciding to go down that path. I have no evidence to support that, but yeah, bro. It's a fucking psyop is all I'm saying. It's a fucking psyop. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, Zane. I always appreciate seeing you. And thanks, Charles, by the way. I forget to say thank you, but we really appreciate that super chat. And yeah, got some more Godzilla fans, got some more G fans in the chat. What's up? Yeah, we've had a good time chatting with you guys today. Thanks for all the super chat. I totally agree, by the way. Fuck the MCU. Monsterverse is where it's at right now. But yeah, we can move on to our next story if you want, Zach.
Yeah, I would just say the only multiverse that I fuck with is the View Askewniverse. But anyway, I'm kidding. Obviously, that one's trash at this point. But anyway, yeah. Shout out to all of the Godzilla fans in the chat. But yeah, wanted to get to one more story on Noam Chomsky, the Chomsmeister, back in the headlines. This time for being based.
Yeah, Russian shill, Noam Chomsky. No, I'm just kidding. Let's take a look at what Noam Chomsky had to say on Democracy Now! Totally kidding, by the way, about him being a Russian agent or whatever. So let's take a look here. Noam Chomsky says the U.S. must stop undermining possibilities of negotiations with Russia to end the war in Ukraine and drop the official position that the war must go on to weaken Russia. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate to me. Let's take a listen to the old Chompster here with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! Let's take a listen to what he had to say. I've been trying to get Chomsky back on the podcast, guys, but I don't think he wants to come back on after I ask him about force the vote. Do you guys remember that shit? A lot of you probably don't. That happened so long ago, but we actually talked to Noam Chomsky on the Vanguard like over a year and a half ago, and I asked him about force the vote. He was not impressed. I don't think he was impressed by us at all. I think he was like, who the fuck are these like stoner degenerates?
Gavin was chugging a glass bottle of Coca-Cola between every question, like fucking just like, I think he just thought it was performance art. He was like, it was like he didn't know if he was about to be like fucking on candid camera or like Sacha Baron Cohen was gonna run out from behind him. But you know, hey, that's the Vanguard way, baby. We don't modify ourselves for no one.
Yeah, so let's take a listen to Mr. Noam, what he has to say about Russia.
What the U.S. can do is stop acting to prevent negotiations. For a long time, there's no time to review the record, but the position of the United States has been to try to undermine possibilities of negotiations. They're not alone in this. So if you take a look at the Macron-Putin discussions up to a few days before the invasion, President Macron was indeed trying very hard to avoid the invasion by offering various options for a peaceful settlement. Putin, we have the actual transcript of this, no guesswork. Putin was dismissive at the very end, a couple of days before the invasion. He just dismissed it with contempt, said, sorry, I've got to go ice skating. It was something like that. So the U.S. is not alone, but its role has been to act to make negotiations harder to achieve, unlikely. That's as recently as late April, as far as we know. Well, one thing the United States can do is stop acting like that. Drop the position, the official position, that the war must go on to weaken Russia severely, meaning no negotiations. Would that open the way to negotiations? Diplomacy? Can't be sure. There's only one way to find out. That's to try. If you don't try, of course it won't happen.
Yeah. I was just going to jump in and say that it's ridiculous that this is like a fringe viewpoint in the mainstream media. What and also that it's kind of like stirring up some sort of controversy, like how, you know, Noam Chomsky is like fucking, you know, a Putin apologist or whatever, when he's been consistently anti-war for his entire fucking life. Like, you know, anyway, this guy's always on the money, but it's baffling to me that there is no argument that's even remotely similar to this, which is a relatively standard argument from anybody that would identify as anti-war, which is that we need to be involved in peace negotiations. Like the idea that they've tried to present as the de facto viewpoint on this in America and through the legacy media is that no, if you're a good person, then you want to aid and abet Ukraine and help them win this unwinnable war, right? We love unwinnable wars in this country. So it's just baffling to and refreshing to hear Noam Chomsky come out and just say no, we should be doing what the French have been trying to do with Emmanuel Macron. I mean, imagine making Macron look good with your fucking foreign policy. I mean, Jesus Christ, he's starching us because he actually doesn't want his entire fucking continent to be ripped to shreds, by a nuclear conflict. And we're over here it'll be just fine. Let's sell some more fucking weapons. Let's punt another 12 billion over there, etc. But
yeah, and I like the fact that he pointed out that it's not like Putin is a good faith actor in this equation either. When Macron attempted that peace deal, Putin basically told him to go fuck himself. So he's not saying that Putin is he's interested in peace necessarily, but he's just saying we got to give peace a chance, so to speak, because the alternative is fucking nuclear annihilation. I'm sorry, but sometimes you do have to make an uncomfortable decision. And if it means avoiding death and destruction, then sometimes, unfortunately, you got to do that. It's the best analogy I can think of is if you're on the street walking and someone comes up to you with a gun and says, give me your fucking wallet. You got to give them your fucking wallet, right? Unfortunately, you don't really have a chance, bro. It's not a good idea to fight back against that person with the gun. It actually is in your best interest to just hand over your wallet. You can call that capitulating. You can call that letting the aggressor win or letting the bully win. But at the end of the day, it's in the best interest of everyone's safety to just surrender in that instance. And I kind of think that's what needs to happen at this point, man. I hate to say that, and I have nothing but solidarity for Ukraine. I think it's horrible what happened. And again, it sucks to have to capitulate to the bully. But if we're all going to fucking die in a nuclear holocaust over this conflict, maybe it's time to wrap shit up, bro.
I mean, honestly, we gave Kim Iverson credit for this a long time ago when she was eating a bunch of shit because she was like, hey guys, why is it so out of the question to talk about Ukraine surrendering and negotiating? Okay, we don't want to give up all of our country. We don't want all these people to die. We don't want all this destruction. You got to deal with the mafia boss somehow when you're, and it's just what can we do? We give you a slice and, you let it ride. No, that wasn't going to work for America, who needed to cash in on this war. We just pulled out of Afghanistan. We needed somewhere to do some war in. And so, yeah, we've undermined any kind of fucking progress to be made. But yeah, I think that they should have. I think that anybody who's looking at this objectively sees a massive powerhouse in Russia and a country right next door. And unfortunately, there's just not much you can do about that unless you want to go to a war with a nuclear armed country. And I don't think any of us want that, or nobody that's rational should want that.
Absolutely. And thank you, Brian, for the $4.99. Again, I know that was an unpopular opinion I just said among some people, but it's I don't want to fucking die in nuclear holocaust. So call me crazy, but that's how I feel. There is no anti-war left in Congress. We desperately need voices calling for peace instead of flooding Ukraine with more weapons. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And yeah, obviously Ukraine has every right to defend itself. But I just don't think it should be our place to get involved and escalate with a nuclear armed superpower. If they want to defend themselves, that's 100% fine. I support their right to defend themselves, obviously. But I just think that us, a nuclear armed superpower, intervening with them, Russia, another nuclear armed superpower, only brings us closer to the brink of World War III. And it's not like we have any fucking moral authority anyway. We have no moral high ground to stand on. When we invaded Afghanistan, do I think it would have been a good idea for Putin to start arming the Afghanistanis and fighting back against us to the tune of billions of dollars? No, because that would have escalated a fucking nuclear conflict. In the same way, even though it's fucked up what Putin's doing, I don't support us getting involved and fighting back on their behalf, because again, it's bringing us really goddamn close to the brink of literal fucking annihilation.
Yep. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a ton more to say about that unless you do, but thank you so much for the $4.99, Brian. And yeah, it's pretty pathetic that there's not at least some sort of a faction of the, Democratic left in Congress that's making a fucking case about this and letting people know, okay, it doesn't mean that you stand with Russia. It means that you stand for peace. And here's what we implore the president to do in aiding and negotiating a peace settlement between these two countries, in collaboration with Macron and whoever. What's this? There's a new person in Germany, right? It's not Angela Merkel anymore. So I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know who it is, but I think there is.
Anyway, I don't know the names of everybody now. Everybody has a new fucking PM. I don't know the name of the lady that's running the fucking UK now. The Boris Johnson shut down now. I need to do my homework is what I'm saying. My European politics is trash. I only know Macron because he's been president for a while. But anyway, Biden needs to get his shit together with all those people, and they need to negotiate with Putin, and they need to do it in good faith, and they need to, say, let's work this out, guys. Nobody wants a world war. I hope nobody wants a world war. So anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And bro, like, this is not what do you want to fucking die in a nuclear war over this conflict? Like, I'm serious. Like, do you think the whole fucking human species and civilization as we know it is worth this conflict? Like, I'm serious. Do you think that? I want to know, because that's what we're headed towards under this situation. Like, I know it's a shitty thing to say, like, oh, we just gotta, let Putin win. But as I said, if you're getting mugged on the fucking street by someone with a gun, actually the safest option is to just give them your wallet, not to get shot. I'd rather lose my wallet than fucking die.
Yeah. Also, I reject this idea that the right wing has like the ownership of this anti-war position. Like somebody says, careful, sounding like a right wing talking point. Zach, I don't give a fuck what the right wing sounds like. I'm telling you that we should not be going to war here. Like, is your logic over here like 200 IQ plus guy? I don't remember what your name was. Like, is your logic that China and Russia should have invaded the United States or started sending a fuck ton of people to Afghanistan and Iraq and gotten us in this huge, massive nuclear war? Is that what you're arguing for? You're saying that, oh, because the United States went to Iraq and, and Afghanistan and stole a bunch of shit, and not to mention our, 800 plus military bases around the world. So are we inviting, China and Russia to start arming our fucking enemy combatants everywhere? Is that what you're arguing for? Is that the necessity? Yeah, because guess what, guys? We're doing a bunch of terror around the world too. You ever heard of a place called Puerto Rico? Yeah. You ever hear about fucking go to Okinawa. That's a part of Japan, but it's not really anymore because of all of our fucking shit that's there, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't play this game and be like, oh, we gotta go get Hitler again. We're the fucking no. That's not a rational way of looking at this. What you were either going to do is you are going to jeopardize setting the entire fucking world aflame in ways that we can't even comprehend because it's never happened before. In all of their jackassery of the late, half of the 20th century, they were able to avoid another fucking nuclear war. And in the only 2 times that anybody did it, it was us trying to, swing our dicks around and kill a bunch of innocent civilians as a threat to Russia, right? So we don't come at this from a very high ground, is what I'm saying. So why don't, for once in our fucking lives as Americans, say, instead of swinging our fucking dicks around and nuking people and saying, oh yeah, we're the big fuckers now, U.S. hegemony or die, we say, you know what? Let's be the diplomacy guys. Let's say, for once in our fucking history, let's go out there and negotiate a peaceful settlement and see if that fucking works, because it's never worked our other way.
Absolutely. I think that's pretty accurate to say. And Mike says Putin won't negotiate. He's proven that. He's definitely proven that it's very possible that we get to the negotiating table and he's not interested. However, I still think that's an option that at least has to be pursued. We at least have to try to pursue that as an option. Because again, like, we're literally on the brink of fucking nuclear war, guys. Like, I don't think anything justifies nuclear war. Just about, like, pretty much anything. I don't think it's worth opening that can of worms because there's no going back. So is it unlikely? Perhaps. Does that mean we shouldn't try and the only option is to further escalate militarily, bringing us closer and closer to the brink of nuclear war? I just don't see how that's a better option, Like, obviously there are no good options here. I'm not pretending that. But I just think it's better to try to pursue peace, try to give Putin an off-ramp of some sort to save face, and to, negotiate some sort of a deal, rather than fucking nuclear annihilation. I just don't see how that's the preferable option.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, based on what Chomsky just said, there were attempts to negotiate with Putin that the United States actively undermined. Gavin and I are just arguing that, hey, maybe we could have gotten something somewhere if we hadn't done all of that intentional undermining with all of our fucking cronies that want to profit off this war.
And I actually did want to listen to one more clip of Chomsky on Democracy Now! This is another pretty interesting clip. Let's take a listen here. Noam Chomsky says the U.S. helped ignite war with Russia by moving to integrate Ukraine into NATO and its military system. Now it risks war with China by treating Taiwan similarly. So let's take a listen here once again to Mr. Chomsky.
There has been an agreement that's held for 50 years. It's called the One China policy. It goes back to the 70s. The agreement is between U.S. and China that Taiwan is part of China, not in question, but neither party, U.S. or China, will act to disrupt the peaceful relations that persist. It's called strategic ambiguity. It's held for 50 years. That's a lot in world affairs. The United States is now undermining it. Pelosi's reckless, stupid visit was one example. But more significant are two other things. One is that the United States, this has accelerated under the Biden administration, is promoting a policy of what's called encircling China with sentinel states, basically US satellites, heavily armed with weapons aimed at China, precision weapons, to encircle it, to keep it from the aggression that's contrived in the US propaganda. More significant still is what just happened a couple of weeks ago. On September 14th, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee passed proposed legislation, bipartisan, almost unanimous, virtually calling for a war with China. Not their words, of course. If you read the resolution, it called for substantially enhancing U.S. armaments to China, changing relations to Taiwan, changing relations with Taiwan to elevate Taiwan to the level of a non-NATO partner, to be treated as any other sovereign country diplomatically, moving towards interoperability of weapon systems with the United States. If you pay attention to what was happening in Ukraine for the last decade or so, that's pretty much the program that was followed by the United States to move towards integrating Ukraine de facto into the U.S. NATO military system. Senate Foreign Relations Committee is now proposing to do something quite similar with regard to Taiwan. It's an extraordinary provocation. It severely undermines the One China policy that is held. It's barely discussed. In the background is the context of the encirclement program. It's as if the Senate, the bipartisan Senate, is hell-bent on involving the United States in two major wars, each of which could be a terminal war. All of this is going on. It's not secret. It's not being discussed. Again, it's as if some kind of insanity is pervading the social and political atmosphere.
Yeah, so that's pretty wild. The fact that obviously we've seen some escalating fucking tension between the way that the United States is treating Taiwan, and there's been this big effort to, kind of fearmonger about the rising threat of China. But it was really wild when he said that essentially what's going on in Taiwan is the blueprint of what we did over the past decade in Ukraine. Because if we find ourselves in a position where we're at war with both Russia and China, I think that might be the worst fucking thing that could happen for the entire globe.
Absolutely. And again, that's not to say that like Russia and China are like better, or like that they're, it's not to say that they're in the right. Like, I don't think that what Russia's doing is good. I don't think that what China's doing is good. Like, but that doesn't mean that we should get involved, as we've made the example multiple times, we've done a lot of bad shit. We did the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war. Do I think it would have been a good idea for Russia or China to intervene against us and turn those conflicts into proxy wars with us? No, I don't think that would be a good idea, even though obviously the US was 100% in the wrong. I just don't see how you can really argue with that, right? Anyway, there's Chomsky. We got a couple more super chats to address. Thank you so much, Alex, for the $4.99. The left needs to be more fun. I miss Abby Hoffman. That's a good point, man. We do need some more Abby Hoffman energy these days.
I fucking love Abby Hoffman. He might be one of my greatest, heroes of leftist antics. And I like to think on our best days, the Vanguard can channel some inner Abby Hoffman. We like to have fun. We like to poke and deride and lambast, or whatever the muckraking term you'd like to use. That's one of the big theories of the Vanguard, is that politics can be fun and engaging and lively, and you can still call a fucking pig a pig, right? So anyway, but yeah, obviously that dude was one of the greatest legends of all time. Impossible shoes to fill. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate that. And yeah, we're big Abby Hoffman fans over here. Thank you also, Mike H. Putin has made it clear that he will continue fighting after Russia and try to take Moldova as well as parts of Romania. This is on the Russia, not US, NATO. Okay, even if I grant you that, Mike, do you think the solution is fucking nuclear war? Like, is that what you think the solution to that problem is? Because I agree it's a problem. I'm not saying that Putin's a good guy or a good faith actor even, but do you think the solution is really to start a world war with Russia? Is that what you think the solution to the problem is? Because that's the path that we're currently on, is 100% going to take us there. So I'm genuinely interested in your opinion. And what people say, nuclear war, according to fucking what, bro? Putin is literally saying he's going to fucking use nukes in no uncertain, like, what basis do you have to make that claim? I think there's definitely a possibility that nuclear war will happen. Like, I think it's so foolish to just act, oh, he's just bluffing. Like, you can't take that seriously. Why not? Like, why can we not take that seriously? Like, Putin's already proven that he's not a rational thinker and that he doesn't really give a fuck about the previously established norms. He literally fucking invaded Ukraine. Who's to say he's not going to get super desperate and be like, well, I guess backed into a corner, hitting that red button. Who's to say he's sane enough to fucking have the ability to know what's a good decision even at this point?
Yeah, like, I mean, nuclear war is always a potential, right? That's what I mean, Eric. I don't even want to dunk on you, dude. There are so many instances in which, because you have to remember, one nuclear bomb that happens in the 21st century is going to release a string of them. There are when we dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we were the only ones that really had them, right? And that was why we did it as like a show of force. It was essentially, again, as I said, United States swinging their dick around. We wanted to show the Soviets like, hey, it's our way or the highway. Basically, you can get what we don't fucking want. And that was why we did that. That was why we killed all those innocent people. It was not because Japan wouldn't surrender. We already know Japan would have surrendered before that, but we had anyway. So ever since then, nobody's ever done it because they know it would be fucking catastrophic. But that doesn't mean, just because that's, post hoc ergo propter hoc, right? Like, that just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen, right? So you have not just the United States and Russia right now as a hotbed but you also have the ever-going feud between India and Pakistan, right? That could always boil over. Those are two nuclear superpowers. Like, to say that nuclear war just won't happen, that's pretty, I mean, that's just not true, right? I mean, look at how many times in history we've come inches from nuclear war. Are you assuming that there will always be that check and balance there? I don't think so. I just don't. And people are saying, well, Putin wouldn't survive a nuclear war. Yeah, guess what dictators do when on their way out? They don't necessarily worry about the well-being of everybody else, and they also just fucking, they know they're gonna die. You don't take, it's kind of like being a mafia boss, right? Like, you don't retire from that job anyway besides death. Your death could come from natural cause, or death could come from a bullet, but it ends with death. And that's what, doing the kind of shit that Putin is doing kind of comes with, if you want to shove all of your shit in the middle and really go to war. Now, I think that to respond to the person that was talking about how, Putin's just going to take more and more and more. Yeah, that's how you negotiate a peace settlement. You say, hey, man, You want all of this? Here's like a bunch of countries that are saying, we will help you enforce, this much, right? The Russian speaking whatever. We have a fucking, you start to negotiate, right? Because you can't just be there. All of Ukraine is Zelensky's and, Russia's not going to buy that. You have to go in and you have to say, hey, what kind of territory are you most adamant about? And, obviously I'm not a fucking international diplomat, but this is the kind of way you would approach it. You would say, you can't have the whole pie. How much of the pie would you settle for? Right. In the same way that fucking Obama had the fucking common sense not to go to war over Crimea. Okay, I didn't support Russia's annexation of Crimea. I thought it was imperialism because it was. Abby Martin, when she was on RT, she did an entire last Breaking the Set, or I don't know if it was the very last Breaking the Set episode. It might have been. She did an entire Breaking the Set episode about this and how it was wrong and how it was imperialism and how she did not, believe in it. But she also didn't think that Obama should go fucking, start arming Ukraine and, go to lead a full scale war against this. And I think that's just kind of the smarter move that you have to deal with and not stoke the fucking flames of war.
100% correct. 100% correct. And also, thank you so much, Lakes Girl, for the $5. Okay, but when people were saying the same thing as Chomsky, day one, the left in this country called them Putin shills and attempted to censor. Some people are Putin shills. Like Chomsky's giving an accurate and anti-war perspective, but he's not apologizing or justifying the Russian war crimes like some people have done. Like, for example, not to name any names, but if you're bringing war criminals on your show to downplay Russian war crimes, then, maybe that is an accurate description. Who knows? Not that should be censored, but I'm just saying sometimes you do have to call a spade a spade. And sometimes people genuinely are, shilling for or defending these authoritarian governments or Putin, like the Jackson Hinkle types. Putin is based, Russia is based. Like, you can have a anti-war perspective without literally defending Russia. We're not doing that. I'm not defending Putin at all. I think he's a piece of shit. I think he's a war criminal in no uncertain terms. I'm just saying that we're also war criminals, and maybe it's a good idea to not escalate towards literal nuclear or fucking annihilation. But that doesn't mean that everyone's, a good faith actor. But that being said, no one should be censored.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what war crimes Gavin's committed, but he did that on his own. I don't want to be lumped into that. Look, as Gavin said, there are people who straight up shill for Putin. Like, that is just a part of the internet now. You go see somebody and it's got a picture of a shirtless Putin riding a horse, and it's just like, Putin destroys the libs. It's like, based Putin, Giga Chad Putin. Putin. Actually based ? Like, those kinds of ads. It's like, yeah, that dude is leading a fucking imperialist mission right now. So you're not anti-war if you support that. I am anti-war. Chomsky is anti-war. Chris Hedges came out immediately and said that he did not support any of the actions and effort. He said he would have been fired anyway from RT because he would have opposed their war, right? These were words out of his fucking mouth. And then he turned around and talked about how, of course, the United States, threw gas on this fire, made it 10 times worse, played a heavy role in it. But he was not for a second going to excuse the role that Vladimir Putin played in, escalating this and doing, what he did in invading a sovereign country. So, that's how you are principally anti-war and not a Russian shill. And I admit that there are a lot of people who get called Russian shills. Like, Vosh would probably call us Russian shills or tankies or whatever if he, out of context, heard our position on this, because I know he has like the exact opposite position. But I do think a lot of those people do actually really hurt the anti-war movement reputation by just straight up simping for Russia with their like America bad 5 IQ kind of thought process.
Yeah, and by the way, Vosh has literally called Noam Chomsky like a tanky and all that shit. So he's an idiot, at least when it comes to foreign policy. Sorry to any of the Voshites that are listening, but yeah, that's a dog shit take. One more story that's actually just breaking that I really quickly wanted to react to, because we were talking about Kanye West yesterday on the show. Apparently, according to Vice, there's some interview clips from the Tucker Carlson interview that didn't air but have been like leaked and obtained by Vice. This is pretty crazy. Motherboard obtained footage of Ye making bigoted statements about Jewish people and bizarre claims that fake children, as well as describing visions of kinetic energy, cities sent to him by God. So this is all stuff that didn't make the actual interview, but that he said anyway and has now been leaked. So it says Fox News recently aired a 2-part interview between Tucker and Ye. the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Motherboard has obtained portions of the interview that were edited out of the final broadcast. I thought they were anti-censorship at Fox News. What the fuck? Why would they edit these segments out of the interview? I thought that there was a place for free speech and for, away from all of the safe spaces of the liberal woke establishment. Right?
Oh, it was just pacing, Gavin. They had a time slot to fill. They just couldn't fit it all in. It was nothing censorious. Just
Yeah, they censored Kanye from speaking the truth about the Jews. I can't believe that Tucker would do that, man. What the hell? I thought it was a real free speech platform, bro. These include numerous anti-Semitic statements from Ye, a strange and lengthy digression about fake children he claimed were planted in his house to manipulate his own children. This is like serious fucking delusions, bro. This man might be like genuinely like hallucinating and shit. Like fucking they've planted fake children in my house. What the fuck? And a statement that he's vaccinated against COVID-19. That's funny. They took that out too. Carlson used the interview. It's also funny because Tucker himself is 100% vaccinated. Also, you have to be if you work at Fox News. He just won't say it. Carlson used the interview, which was presented as a piece of landmark television, to hit on a few of Fox News' favorite boogeymans with Ye's enthusiastic participation: the Clintons, former President Obama, COVID restrictions, and of course the Kardashians. But what Tucker Carlson team chose to leave out is just as revealing. In the version of the interview that made it to air, Ye described what he was described that he said was pressure not to support Donald Trump when the latter was a candidate, called the singer Lizzo clinically unhealthy for her weight. You know what else is clinically unhealthy? Not taking your fucking meds when you're a crazy person. And tried to explain his decision to appear at Paris Fashion Week with Candace Owens in matching White Lives Matter shirts. Carlson praised the interview as interesting, deep, provocative, and aired nearly 2 full hours of it over the course of 2 nights. Did you feel you were manipulated by political forces through your wife? Carlson asked hopefully at one point in a fairly representative piece of footage. Ye responded that he was unaware of how close Kim Kardashian was to the Clintons during the time when they were married. Yeah, Kim Kardashian is actually just an op. She's a fucking op from the Clintons sent in to take down Kanye West, the truth teller. A simple statement of fact from Ye, I was vaccinated, was edited out of a part of the conversation about COVID. Carlson has repeatedly used his show to air false and dangerous claims, etc., etc. The other footage that didn't air specifically includes numerous asides about Jewish people. Yeah, I wonder why they took that out. Who could possibly know? Ye has recently displayed an intense negative fixation on Jews. Both his Instagram and Twitter accounts have been locked in recent days because of his anti-Semitic comments. On October 7th, he appeared to suggest an Instagram post that the rapper Diddy is controlled by Jews. Not long after, he promised in a tweet that he would go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. In an interview with Carlson, Ye said the Planned Parenthood founder, Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, as he put it, created Planned Parenthood with the KKK to control the Jewish population. So there is a grain of truth in that. The founder of Planned Parenthood actually was like a straight up eugenicist. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that is true. But however, I don't think it was to fucking control the Jew population. So that's pretty funny. Keep going. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people know as the black really are. Ye added, this is who our people are, the blood of Christ. This, as a Christian, is my belief. The statement matches a few different claims. Singer was a racist and a eugenist, a stance the organization has since denounced. Claims that Planned Parenthood exists to kill black infants in the womb are common across several conspiratorial spaces. Ye was also referring to the claim, unsupported by historical evidence, that black people are the real Jewish race, which is often used to promote anti-Semitism. And this is what I was referencing yesterday when I said it sounded like he'd kind of been dabbling in the whole like Louis Farrakhan, like Nation of Islam sort of thing. It sounds like that's accurate given this kind of rhetoric. Yeah, the black people are the real Jews. Like, what the fuck? Like, black people can be Jews. You can be any race and be a Jew, right? Like, what the fuck? Black people are the real Jews. Like, oh, those white Jews, they're just fake Jews. We're the real Jews. What the fuck? So yeah, lots of crazy shit. Pretty much, it's pretty funny though that the Tucker, who claims to be so anti-censorship, and here on Tucker Carlson Tonight, we air opinions that the mainstream media won't air. We let all viewpoints have a say. All that's bullshit. But then as soon as Kanye starts saying some like deranged shit, they have to edit it out. Meanwhile, he's acting like he's a genius and some enlightened fucking intellectual.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say here. I saw the shit about the Clintons and all this kind of stuff. It's just delusional Kanye ramblings. Like he said, he was going to be the first Latino president. Like all kinds of just like crazy, unfucking hinge shit. Like, I mean, like at this point, you don't know how much of it is real, how much of it is mental illness, how much of it is performance, how much of it is drugs, how much of it is, all these kinds of things. I don't really give a fuck how much any of it is. He's a real crazy person, and I don't mean that nicely. He also is a patient that needs clinical help, but he's also just fucking deranged, and he's definitely off the rails in a way that I just don't think he'll ever come back from. Like fake children have been planted in your house. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened, but do you remember when there were all the memes and it was like Kanye down in the sunken place, and then he just tweets out this like picture of like a really long dark corridor in his house, and he's like, do this look like the sunken place? And it's like, yeah, dog, it did. And it doesn't look like he ever left. He just got more and more deranged and problematic and bigoted and hateful, and of course Fox News and Tucker Carlson are gonna embrace him with open arms.
Yep. And honestly, this might be the craziest thing of all. Carlson's program also didn't air a strange claim from Ye that fake children had been placed in his house to manipulate his children. I mean, like actors, professional actors, placed into my house to sexualize my kids, he told Carlson. He referred to the so-called son of an associate, seeming to imply the child was fake. This shit is so crazy, bro. This shit is so fucking crazy. And thank you, Adi, for the $5. I think the world needs to boycott Kanye West. 75% of what he does is solely for attention, I guess. But at this point, you could say it's just for attention, but I actually do think he believes this stuff, Like, I don't think he's just like a craven grifter who's just like, maybe I can get some money on the right wing. I think he actually believes this shit. And therefore, it is worth addressing and mocking, in my opinion, because unfortunately, other people also believe this shit. But yeah, I agree. I mean, to the best of our abilities, we should definitely stop giving him attention.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I definitely think it's like 99% for attention. I think he's convinced himself of this shit for sure. That's the other 5% max. But I don't think he convinces himself of this shit if he doesn't know that it's gonna get the shock and awe and the fucking it's like he just wants people. Like I just think he likes that too much. That's what led him to this. Sure, he might have actually internalized it and believed it, but what led him to this was the fact that he knew that it was gonna trigger everybody. It was gonna be so out there that it was gonna get eyes on him, that he was gonna be trending again. I just can't believe that this man does literally anything without that being like a primary focal point of it.
Sure, but I mean, you could say the same thing about Trump. That doesn't make it any less dangerous. That doesn't make it any less worth responding to, right? Like even if he is just saying it all for attention, I still think it's pretty dangerous kind of rhetoric he's using here. In the same way that, you could say that Trump just is making everything up, and then he has no principles and he's doing everything for attention. That might be true, but the dude still has a massive platform, a lot of followers, and what he says does matter. So I do think it's worth, responding to and combating, especially the anti-Semitic shit from Kanye, and also just pointing out how fucking delusional he is. Because, part of it's definitely attention seeking, but this sounds like legitimate paranoid delusions of someone that's genuinely mentally ill. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, I think it's like a Michael Lindell thing, right? Like Michael Lindell is legitimately fucking mentally ill. He also has convinced himself of the crazy shit, and he also probably does it all for attention anyway, right? I just think it's a compilation of all of these things that kind of fuel Kanye, and as he's doing all those things, and then I think also a part of it likes to feel like he's in on something that only his galaxy brain can understand, and that he's at the center of it, and all of these different things. I think all of that plays into a role, and I sure shit don't give a fuck about reacting to it, right? Like that's what we do, we react to shit. I slightly disagree with Audi on that one, but as far as it being about the spectacle, and I mean, I just think Kanye lives to be a spectacle, just kind of exactly like Trump does. Like Trump lives to be a spectacle, and I mean, to the extent that he believes in anything, he's a racist, bigot, sexist, misogynist, all these kinds of things, but I just think that he would be saying something completely different if he thought that would get him crowds of adulating people and spots on Fox News and all this kinds of stuff. That I 100% think that.
I 100% disagree with that, because now he ain't going to get any more fucking spots on Fox News. You think he's going to keep getting fucking play with the right-wing mainstream media after this kind of shit? Are you fucking kidding me? After saying that he's going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, I don't even think InfoWars would platform that kind of rhetoric, bro. Like, how is this in any way helping his career? He's only gonna get shut off of more social media sites and get less attention. He might get more attention like in the short term, but in the long term, he's not gonna get any more deals with Gap or any more fucking record deals. Like, no one's gonna want to fucking entertain this guy because he's clearly just a insane and bigoted person now.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, Elon Musk has already started rehabilitating him as if he's going to bring him back on Twitter. He said that he reached out to Kanye and talked to him, and he seems that he's shown genuine remorse. I think he's going to get back on Twitter. I think in a couple more months, you're going to start seeing him more often with people like Candace Owens. I just think you are. I think that the right will actually try and run with this. I don't think that he's persona non grata from the right wing anymore. I think in 6 months' time, I just do. I think that he's going.
Well, do you think he's going to keep going down this path? Like, do you think they're going to continue? They're going to keep accepting him in the assumption that he stops saying stuff like this, or that he keeps saying stuff like this?
Yeah, I mean, they may give him a line in the sand. I don't know. I just think that the right wing loves having him as a spokesperson too much, and I would not be shocked if they keep going down with this guy. I would not be shocked. But we'll be interested. This will be one of those old Vanguard wagers. If we keep seeing Kanye, or if it's almost unfathomable for me, and maybe this just shows my age and how I've grown up. It would be unfathomable for me for Kanye to just go away. He's always just been there. He's always been like, think about when we were in, 6th grade. We were just talking about 6th grade. Remember when he had his whole, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had the best album of the year. Like, obviously he's gone a completely different way than that. But there's no way that while Kanye West is living and breathing, that this man lets himself not be in the public eye. Like, he will do continuously more shit to get people to, pay attention to him. And I do think that there are enough fucking crazy people. Like, he owns his own label. He doesn't need a label to put out his music. He can still put out his own music. Pusha T still going to be on features with them. Rappers are still going to be, I guarantee you, bro. They will. They're just gonna, because it's Kanye. I guarantee you.
A ton of rappers have already called him out and completely disassociated with him. Even Kid Cudi's like, go fuck yourself, bro.
Well,
You're
that
a
was
piece of
because
shit.
of Pete Davidson. That wasn't because of the anti-Semitic stuff. That was because of Pete Davidson. But I guarantee you, I'm telling you right now that this is, maybe it definitely should, right? He's vile, and I'm not trying to defend the guy at all. Obviously, I just think that the world is so broken that I don't think that this is going to be the last you hear from Kanye.
I'm not saying that it's going to be the last you hear from him. Obviously, he's going to continue to try to get attention. I'm just saying that at some point, even the mainstream right-wingers are going to have to stop associated with him. Because do you think they want to have to come out here and defend these kind of statements? Like, let's take a listen to what Candace Owens had to say. Her just fucking grasping for straws trying to defend Kanye West. You think she wants to have to come out here and do this shit? No.
That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost, what is DEFCON 3?
It inspired questions, not answers. But like, I'm serious. Like, do you think Candace Owens wants to have to come out here and defend this shit? Like, even she knows that she's grasping for straws and probably had to spend like, a little while like thinking, okay, how am I going to respond to this? There's no good way to spin this. So let me try to figure out what I'm going to say to make this seem less bad than it is. If Kanye keeps going down this path and he keeps saying anti-Semitic shit and he keeps getting more and more delusional, I don't think it's going to be worth it for people like Candace Owens to have to come out here and keep, finding a way to spin his comments in a positive light. I don't think they want to do that. Same with Elon Musk. Like, I don't think Elon Musk wants to have to come out here and be like, I called him up and told him why it's not a good look to be a fucking Jew-hating bigot. Like, no one wants to have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, sure, nobody wants to have to do that, but I think that they will, bro. I think that they will. And to give you a counter example, nobody was putting a gun to Robbie's head when he came out and fucking just in full swing and said that wasn't anti-Semitic at all. What he was saying, what? No, of course not. I mean, there are a lot of Robbies, there's a lot of Candace Owens, and there's a lot of people who listen to them that don't give a fuck. And I think that it's worth it to them to just say, even if his reach goes from here with the right-wing audience to here with the right-wing audience, this is the moneymaker business anyway. This is the moneymaker business anyway. And I guarantee you, they will do anything. We talked about how the right wing loves to put up any kind of celebrities. They're going to fucking embarrass themselves, dude. But Kanye's such a huge name. He's such a whale for the right wing. I think they keep putting him out there. I think they give him some coaching. They say, please, dude, start saying globalists. But I don't think they actually give a fuck about associating with an anti-Semite like Kanye.
Is he really that much of a whale for the right wing though? Like, who's actually impressed by what that dude has to say? Like, is anyone really that impressed by what he has to say? Like, he's a big name for sure. Like, people know his music, but like, does it really help the Republican Party to trot out this certified fucking lunatic to babble? He never makes any good points. He doesn't have any like good stances. All he does is fucking babble like a lunatic. Like, how is it even helping the Republicans to have him on their team?
I mean, isn't that what people said constantly about Trump?
Trump actually had a political agenda, though, that was at least faux populist. Like, he was running on policies that people cared about. You know, love him or hate him, whatever. Like, you can understand the appeal of that guy. And when he spoke at a rally, he had a message. Kanye is just a blithering fucking idiot, a complete unmedicated lunatic. I don't think that's a comparison, like a valid comparison necessarily. I think Trump had way more political talent than Kanye ever has.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Kanye is going to be successful in his bid for presidency, but as an entertainer, I think that they will use him to put him out there and to give him the spotlight, and they'll be like, "Yeah, Kanye, come say whatever the fuck you want," because it gets millions and millions of eyeballs on it. That Tucker Carlson clip is fucking, going dumb crazy with people watching it. And you could say, "Oh, people are watching it to laugh at it, or people are watching it to deride it, or people are watching it because they can't believe how crazy it is." But that's views for them. That's what the right wing wants from a guy like Kanye. They want people to click. They want to look at him. They want to see, oh, this is a guy that clicks, and then I'm feeding you my fucking tape of bullshit, and this guy's validating me. And so I genuinely believe that they're going to keep running with this. As disgusting, as depraved, as downright, lunacy as it sounds. I just think they will, man. I think they are that low. I think they will stoop that low. And I think their audience will reward them for it because they are also that low.
If Kanye drops all the anti-Semitic stuff and apologizes for it or whatever, then maybe I would agree with you. But if he keeps going down this path, if he keeps posting shit like this, I just don't think they can do that. Even as fucked up and depraved and horrible as the Republicans are, I don't think they can just keep platforming someone that's a blatant anti-Semite. Like even Trump has to use dog whistles when he's talking about shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just come out here and say, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
That's why I said they're going to get into you. They're going to say, hey, start doing dog whistles. Call them globalists. Call them the elite cabal. Call them all that kind of shit. And then they are going to run with the guy. I mean, Alex Jones is a downright anti-Semite, 100%. He's got a huge fucking audience, man.
Right, but he's not going on fucking Tucker Carlson. The mainstream right wing doesn't actually associate with him that much. He's totally underground now. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think it's in Kanye's best interest to keep doing this stuff even though it's getting him attention in the short term. Like I said, in the long term, I actually think this will damage his ability to get attention from mainstream platforms like the one hosted by Tucker Carlson or the one hosted by Candace Owens, because eventually they are going to be like, it's just not worth my time to keep having to defend what is blatant anti-Semitism and just delusional, unmedicated lunacy. At some point, yeah, it's not going to be in their best interest to associate with or defend that. So yeah, maybe he'll get a spot on InfoWars every once in a while, but I just don't think that if he keeps going down this path, that the mainstream right wing will keep accepting him.
Yeah, or they'll just keep doing what fucking Tucker did, which is shear out the fucking part that they don't want from his interview, dude. I just don't think you can underestimate how low these people will sink for fucking somebody as clickable as Kanye. I mean, people thought that it was the end of the road for him when he said that slavery was a choice and all this kind of shit. And now, of course, it's gotten way worse. Of course, it's gotten way worse. I mean, that was really bad, but like, the DEFCON 3 on Jewish, that was really bad too. So I don't know. I think we just keep moving the bar for Kanye. We'll see, but this will be one of those. Chat, keep us honest. If Kanye shows back up on Tucker in like 3 weeks, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see what happens, and if they do keep trotting him out there, obviously I will, I'll admit defeat. But also thank you for this comment. I agree with this too. I agree. I haven't read the whole thing, admittedly, but I agree with the first part. It's pretty messed up to interview Kanye and exploit his mental health problem 100%, and then edit out all the parts where he truly seems as delusional as he actually is. Yeah, it's super exploitative. It's no better than the fucking like TLC shows where they're like, exploiting crazy people or fat people or whatever for like, oh, look at this freak show kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? He needs help, absolutely. And I disagree that he's doing this for attention. That children being replaced thing is genuinely crazy. And yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, obviously, he's always everything he does for attention. Going back to that Jackson Hinkle quote. It's all for clout. Everything I do is for clout. You're never going to see me do something that's not for clout. Yeah, that's Kanye West. Obviously, that could be said about everything he's ever done. But I do think that now it's crossed a line where he is genuinely delusional and like he's genuinely ill. And that's the difference, I think. It stops being just grifting and it actually becomes a product of your delusion.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of sympathy for billionaires, which is maybe why I'm having a hard time like fucking shedding a bunch of tears. Like Kanye has had every fucking opportunity to get treatment. He's had every fucking opportunity to have the whole world thrown at him. He can buy a fucking pharmacy, and if he wants to, he can have all the therapy in the world, and he chooses not to get help, So I mean, let's exploiting his mental health problems. Kanye is exploiting his mental health problems, right? So right or wrong, Kanye is the one that's out. Like, I don't know. I think that of course this is for attention, and I also think of course this is a mental health problem. But I don't know. I maybe I'm a bad person. I look at that guy. I look at his life. I look at all the resources that he has, and I look at all the disgusting shit that he says, and I just don't feel bad for him.
Oh, I don't feel bad for him either. Not at all. And you're 100% right that he's the only one preventing his mental health status from getting better. He refuses to take his fucking medications or get help. That being said, that doesn't make it moral. That doesn't make it any less disgusting what Tucker's doing and exploiting him. So yeah, fuck Kanye West, but also fuck Tucker for exploiting what is very clearly an unmedicated, mentally ill person.
100%.
That's dabbling in like fucking Nazi rhetoric, literally. So thank you, Progressive Michigander. I think that's a good point. Also, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the $5.99. Das Bose Fleisch. Back to the nuke conversation. Nukes are a double-edged sword. I think they prevented U.S.-Russia war. Elites can't simply send peasants to fight a nuclear power and stay safe. That's definitely a take. I don't think there's any like good thing about nukes at all. I really don't. I think that a global nuclear war basically means like the end of society as we know it. Like we're going back to the Stone Age, as they say, in the event of a nuclear war. So I don't really think that there is any good side to it. But I guess I can see where you're coming from, Das Bose Fleisch.
Yeah, I mean, I see the analogy that you're making, that the mutually assured destruction thing that we were talking about earlier made it a Cold War instead of a hot war between the United States and Russia. That's 100% true. But I think Gavin and I are on the same page where if I can snap my fingers and, Oppenheimer gets hit by a bus like 18 months before they hit him up for the Manhattan Project, and then the United States never gets nukes and, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I would take that trade even if we had to go fight an actual like peasants on the ground war, because then nukes would not have been invented. And a lot of people would push back on that and say, well, if it wasn't Oppenheimer, it was another guy, it was a law of physics that we were going to figure out how to split an atom at its nucleus and fucking harbor the energy for destruction. So yeah, whatever. I wish we didn't have nukes, and I wish that our elites didn't send peasants to fight either.
Exactly. So thank you. That's an interesting perspective, though. Really appreciate that, Das Bose Fleisch. And thank you, Sam O'Sullivan, for the $1.99. The GOP isn't smart enough to not let Kanye run. I mean, he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants, regardless. Like, I'm sure if he wants to run, he will run, just like he did last time. But yeah, the GOP definitely isn't smart enough to do much in the way of controlling their bad optics. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, although sometimes they do get together and they will, like, for example, what was the name of the Chad boy that was like talking about the orgies, and then they were like they just got him the fuck out of the Republican Party. They were like, you've said too much. What was that guy's name? Madison Cawthorn. Yeah. Anyway, so sometimes they do get their shit together and they're like, you're out the fuck out of here. You said something about cocaine orgies. Get the hell out of here, bro. Here's a picture of your aide touching your thigh, bro. Get away from us. Like, Anyway,
Not just the aid. Remember they leaked pictures of him like fucking his cousin or something crazy like that. It got really weird. The Madison Cawthorn thing. It was like really fucking weird. Anyway, thank you, Sam. Really appreciate that. And also thank you, M. Johnson, for the $4.99. If Kanye doesn't self-censor, he will lose his business. At some point, stores will boycott his brand. That's what I'm saying. I totally agree with that. One by one, every brand and every associate he has is gonna have to be like, all right, can't keep associating with you, can't keep defending you. It's already happened with most of his associates, with most of his old friends and allies in the entertainment industry. But I do think it's getting to the point where, yeah, he's going to lose out on a lot of money if he keeps saying this kind of shit. He's going to lose out on a lot of business opportunities if he keeps going down this road. I think that's pretty undeniable.
I'm waiting to hear from Gap. Gap hasn't said anything.
He's already severed that relationship.
Well, I mean, you can still buy Yeezy Gap shit. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know.
Well, he literally like ended that relationship. Like he said like a month or so ago that he was done working with Gap because they pissed him off.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe you can still buy some of his shit that was made with them at this point, but like that's not a continuing collaboration.
Interesting. Yeah. So who knows? We'll see what's going on. But yeah, I mean we'll see. Like I mean, yeah, obviously at some point, he's going to lose business. But the other thing that right wingers love to do is rally around behind people that get targeted by the libs for cancellation. Remember that? What was his name? Morgan Wallen, I think was the name of the country musician, and he was some random fucker that got caught on video calling some guy the N-word, and then he shot to the #1 on the country music charts because everybody was like, "They're trying to cancel our boy. They want him gone. The libs can't stand him." And it was like he literally just called some poor guy the N-word, and it was like that was enough for them to rally behind him. So I'm just like, the right isn't so virtuous that they won't just be completely out there in their bullshit.
True. That is, you definitely can't underestimate the fucking depths they will go to of disgustingness. So that is true, and I'm not trying to underestimate them. But anyway, thank you, M. Johnson. Really appreciate that. Thank you also to Blues Guy. Really appreciate the $5. Soon as another famous person starts talking, that they'll all forget. As soon as another famous person starts talking their stuff, they'll forget all about Ye. Got to go with Gavin on this one. Yeah, I mean, I think that they've definitely were more than happy to use Ye for as long as they could. But again, if he continues down this path, if he totally changes course and reverses course, then maybe I will agree with you, Zach. But yeah, I think that they've got their usefulness out of him now, and at this point, he's just a detriment to their branding.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's hilarious that he's like been all buddy with Candace Owens, who, I mean, it works for the Daily Wire, and they love to label people like anti-Semitic for like, their criticisms of Israel. So I would love to see the think pieces that come out of the Daily Wire about Kanye West. But anyway, hey, I haven't read any yet. Somebody send them to me if they come out. But anyway, yeah, so I see where you guys are coming from. Don't get me wrong. I definitely don't want to sound like I'm simping for Kanye. Sometimes I worry that's how I'm coming across. I'm just saying that I think the Republican Party is so shameless and so bigoted and so fucked that they are not above an actual legitimate dyed-in-the-wool anti-Semite because of his fame. I worry that they're not above that.
Oh, 100%. I don't think anyone thinks you're simping for him or defending him in any way. Not at all. But thank you so much to Blues Guy. Really appreciate you. And Adi agrees with you, Zach. I don't see the right giving up on all the views and not bringing in Kanye, at least for now. I guess that's true. Again, I just don't actually know who in the Republican Party. Like, I'm thinking of like my grandpa or something who watches Fox News. Like, there's no way my grandpa watched that interview with Kanye and was impressed with what he had to say. Like, it was just a babbling lunacy fest. Like, there was no substance there. He's not good at like communicating these right-wing ideas. He's just a babbling fucking moron and a mentally ill person.
Yeah, but he has swag, and they're trying to connect with the Zoomers, right? And it's just like, hey, Zoomers. You want to be, I don't know. I think that they're gonna run with Kanye because they don't have anyone else that's that big of a name that they're just gonna kind of like tolerate his baggage. But I mean, he has flown about as close to the sun as you can. You're right. If he doesn't ease up just a little bit, like, then I think that it will go Icarus on him.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, because I know you have like right-wing family members too, do you know anyone that's actually on the right that actually likes Kanye West and think he's like a smart guy?
No, what Kanye does for those people, and I could imagine my grandparents watching him and, sitting around and just internalizing. See, even this guy knows that the left just won't let anybody, what's it, the famous Kanye line, if I talk about God, my record won't get played, huh? So if it take away from my spins, then I hope it take away from my sins. He's always talked about, religion and all that kind of stuff. So they use that a lot on the Fox News to like set it up. It's like he's a persecuted Christian, and that shit does resonate with my grandparents. I have one grandma, that I've referred to. She's a Irish Catholic from Kentucky, and my grandfather is a Southern Baptist, also from Kentucky, and they love to hear about persecuted Christians. Go ahead and ask him about Syria and what Assad did to the Christians there, and that ISIS went in there and fucking got all the Christians. That's the kind of shit they love to talk about, persecuted Christians, those kinds of things, right? And I think that's where Kanye is going to really like ring the bell. Is they're going to portray him as as a persecuted Christian, and typically people who are evangelical, I don't want to say typically. Actually, there are a lot of times people who are evangelical, and then their views towards Jewish people are malleable. Let's just put it that way on the right wing, and it's just like a relationship of convenience, right? Like we both agree we need to be the fucking firm strongholders of Jerusalem, but they don't necessarily see them as like equitable to Christian. The right wing's all fucked up in caste system.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. That is definitely very true about the persecuted Christian angle, for sure. Kind of like with the Tulsi Gabbard, the persecuted Democrat. Like, well, I was a fucking Democrat, but then they got so crazy and like all this shit. Same kind of thing. Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Mike, also for the $2 heading out, fellas. Thanks for the show today. Appreciate it, Mike. And if you're still listening, we appreciate your super chats earlier in the show too. Always appreciate some good pushback from the audience, and we enjoyed engaging with your perspective as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Love seeing you in the chat, Mike. Anybody that's name I recognize, I try and give a hearty shout out to, and sometimes I might respond more vociferously, but it's just because I recognize you. It's not because I'm trying to like come after you. We really appreciate everybody in the chat.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mike. And thank you, Christina, once again for the support. Really appreciate it. The first super chat of the live stream came from Christina, and this might be the last. So really appreciate that, Christina. Thank you so much. I agree about Kanye, Zach. He's rich and could have an entire mental health team helping him. Yeah, I'm on the same page as that too. Like, I have no sympathy for the guy. It's his own goddamn fault. The place he's in, he needs to take his own medications. He's literally a danger to himself and others. So yeah, he needs to fucking get help. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those baffling things. I remember. Do you remember when this is a random thing, but Demi Lovato was in the news a lot for a while. She went on like Joe Rogan, and she was talking about being like California sober or whatever. She had this like big resurgence where it was. She was talking a lot about that, and she said something that just blew my mind, which was, "I've been working really hard with my mental health team." And I'm like, oh my God, how rich do you have to be? Not to shame anybody that has one, but just like, how big do you have to be to have people like, I have a fucked up brain, guys. I have a fucked up brain. I could have people working round the clock to fucking unpack all this shit. But the fact that anybody actually does is like, wow. And then, props to Demi. At least she's doing it. She knows she's fucked up. She knows that she needs help, and therapy is good for everyone, right? So why not have a whole team of people working through your trauma with you, I guess, if that's what you're, up for. But yeah, completely baffling just to take a moment aside that we have people that can't even go see a fucking dentist in this country. And then yet people who have the opportunity to just have like 7 PhD professionals give them around the clock advice and care. It's pretty insane, and it also contributes to why I have really no sympathy for Kanye, where this guy could have a golden carpet wrung out for him, where all he does is smoke weed and lay on a beautiful beach and get talked to about his feelings like once a day, but instead he's out here, basically stoking the fucking ancient flames of anti-Semitism and all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah, that's so true. 100% true. And by the way, thank you so much, Adi. Really appreciate the $50 super chat. MVP. Thank you so much, Adi. Have another vegan meal on me, guys. Oops, I turned off my camera.
Gavin just ran away from the fucking... He couldn't take it. He was blushing so bad.
What the fuck? What happened to my webcam? All right. Well, something's going on with my webcam. That's weird. I guess we're back to the fucking... this cam. What's up, everyone? I'll have to figure out what's going on with my webcam later after the show, but now you can see the quality difference between my regular webcam and my 4K webcam. So hopefully I can fix that. Anyway, but yeah, thank you so much, Adi. Really appreciate that. You're going to turn us into vegans one super chat at a time. Really, really appreciate that, man. What are we having for dinner tonight, Zach?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said that you're off to spend my lunch money already. Got to do some chana masala. I need to know. I need to learn more. What is the other one that I really like? That's like spicy lentil. What's that called? Fuck. I know there's a name for it. It's I don't know. Red lentils with curry is really good, and I know there's a name for it, the dish, but I don't.
Well, there's Ethiopian red lentils. That's fuck. What do you call the Ethiopian dish of red lentils?
Oh, Mr. Watt.
Miserwat. Yeah, that's Ethiopian, not Indian. But that's a dank vegan meal. I love Ethiopian food's another great cuisine if you're trying to avoid like animal products and stuff. Someone says dal makhani.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking of?
Dal tadka was what I had in my brain, but dal I think is all of the like I think it would be the like term for lentil.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Adi. And yeah, Miserwat. I fucking love Ethiopian food so much. Unfortunately, standing alone, sag paneer is not vegan because paneer is not vegan, as Adi pointed out recently.
Yeah, I was dumb as shit too. I also thought it was.
But you can replace the paneer with tofu and have a similar effect, and that is vegan. But either way, and yeah, well, that's with tofu, but actual paneer is cheese. It's dairy, so that wouldn't be vegan. But once again, really appreciate your generous contribution, Adi. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Adi. Always good to hear from everybody. We had a banging fucking show today. We had 2 stories in the folder that we wanted to talk about today, and we did an hour on each of them. So that's pretty wild. But yeah, I guess without further ado, that'll be. Oh, hey, shout out to you, comrade. Really appreciate that super chat. We also thought it was a great show. Really appreciate everybody in the chat today. You guys have been really based.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, comrade. Really appreciate that. And yeah, that it works just as well with tofu. So I see what you're saying, bro. 100%. And I love sag paneer as well. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone that tuned in today, everyone that contributed. Really appreciate that. And a huge shout out, as always, to the patron community as well. We always like to start and end all of our live shows with a big shout out to the patrons. So thank you so much for the support, guys. The link's in the description. As always, if you'd like to join our patron community and support the show, you can hit up that link in the description. Even just a couple dollars a month really helps us out, helps us keep afloat. If you enjoy our content and perspective, please consider supporting us. But if not, we totally understand it. All you have to do is hit that like button. It's another great way to support the show 100% for free. So thank you, everyone that hit that like button as well. And a huge shout out to our patron community. Shout out to Alex Kahn, by the way, for becoming our latest super Vanguardian. Really appreciate that support, Alex. And yeah, I guess that just about wraps up our show today. What an awesome conversation. We've gone for over 2 hours.
Yeah, wild ass fucking show today. Shout out to you, Jimmy, for the final super sticker. Rock and roll. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, awesome fucking show today. And we'll be back as soon as the internet calls for it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, so much. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.